Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages from around the world, welcome to tonight's event, the Great One Hockey League Sim Season 3 Rookie Draft. Welcome to everyone viewing. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Let me introduce your hosts for tonight's draft. First, we have the owner of the Glasgow Black Watch, owner Jess Boudreau. Jess, what's going on? How you doing tonight, bro?
Man, I'm ready to get this one rocking and rolling. Let's light the fires and kick the tires, buddy. Let's go.
Awesome to hear. Also joining us, one of the deputy commissioners and owner of the Turku Fins, Mr. Evan himself. Evan, what's going on? How are you tonight? Oh, Evan, I think you're muted, bro. That's our first muted, bro, for the night.
First one already.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm doing great, though. Show looks awesome. I can't wait to get the draft going.
That's awesome to hear. All right. Once again, welcome to everybody in the chat. Welcome to everybody watching from home on your phones, wherever you're from. And I am going to turn this over to Jess and Evan for the remainder of the night. You guys take it away. Gohls Season 3 draft.
Awesome. So without further ado, the Florence Firebirds are going on the clock. Maybe.
Well, while we're doing, I can go ahead and throw this in here. Florence is one of our new expansion teams that came in really heavy in free agency. They're coming into the draft. They need 7 forwards out of 12 and 1 defender out of 6. So obviously we know this is going to be a pretty heavy draft for them, concentrating on the forwards. What's your take on this, Evan?
Yeah, obviously I know Squibs from his time working with me in Calgary a couple seasons ago, and I've kind of been talking to him a lot since then, and he's got a really good grasp of how things go in this league, and I'm excited to see what he builds with his second expansion team in as many seasons. It's going to be fun seeing what he does.
And we know he's one of the most active owners that we have in the group out of the 12 of us for an expansion owner. And he was working the trade boards a lot. I know that myself from talking to him. But what do you think he's going to do? Kind of first pick, first draft, all on his own. And like I said, needing 7 forwards. So what are your thoughts on what he might do here?
Yeah, I mean, like last season we saw defensemen kind of at a premium. We saw them go for the first number of picks. And I think this time it's going to be kind of the opposite. A lot of teams are coming in needing lots of forwards like Florence. I think he's going playmaker here. He has Ray Bob Diddle on his team from the expansion draft. So, his brother Bo is there. There's a couple other really good playmakers out there as well, some centers, some wingers. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he has up his sleeve here with this pick.
And I think that's going to be really interesting. I mean, I know myself coming into that first draft last time, trying to figure out all these different archetypes and how this is going to come together. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see what does he do here. I mean, I think we saw with the draft last time, there were some of the player archetypes that were kind of neglected or put off to the side, and we saw the production that we were able to get out of them throughout the season. I know myself, I was kind of hurting to bring some playmakers in, so I think that having that piece in there, the one that can kind of pull the strings for you, is going to be real important for Florence as they're moving forward. This is going to be a young team. We know this. It's going to be with 2 expansion teams coming into it. It's going to be a work in progress for them in Florence and in Norfolk. So it's going to be how does he put these pieces together? He's had some time to look at the different players, evaluate them. I think that Evan brought up a good point. The fact that we have his brother on the Florence team is going to indicate that probably Bo is going to be the first pick. And here it is. The selection is in. And just as I was saying this, it looks like that we do have a pick in from Florence. And I think that would be good. But so we'll go ahead and announce this pick since we do have it in, and set everything up for the next selection that we're going to see. The Florence Firebirds, and as soon as we make this selection, I'm going to bring in the owner, Squibbs, and let him kind of talk about this pick. But it's not really a big shock here when we see that this selection is in. It is actually the center playmaker, Bo Diddle, the brother of Ray Bob Diddle, who is already on the Florence team. And just kind of let you know a little bit about Bo. He is from Cassette, South Carolina. I hope I said that correctly. It's my neighbor state here. I'm in Hickory. He played his minor league hockey with the Red Deer Rebels, and that's one to say fast, real fast 3 times. See how you do. A little bit about him as well, and I'm looking at the other screen over here. He joined in week 1 of the season last year, so he's had a whole season of progression to go with this. And while I'm kind of doing this, I also remind you that now Albuquerque is on the clock for the next selection. But Bo is a playmaker, as I said. He is rated a overall 61. He's 6 foot, 210 pounds, and a right-handed playmaker. So with that being said, let's see if we can get Squibbs to come in here and talk about his selection, what his thoughts were with making this pick. If we can make this happen, I'm flipping different screens here.
Hey,
Squibbs,
Jess.
are you with us? Yeah, okay. Well, here you go. You got your first pick as the owner of your own franchise. Tell us, kind of walk us through your thought pattern here. What were you thinking?
Well, coming into the expansion draft, I wanted to make defense a priority. Thankfully, I was able to get 4 guys there. Kind of fell a little shy with the forwards, with only selecting 5. With making a trade from Philly, net me some second-round picks instead. Thankfully, free agency landed me a goalie and another defenseman, so forward was definitely a prime position of need for me, and having Ray Bob in here made it an easy selection to go Bo, as well as getting a very strong center, as well as one of the top-rated forwards in this class.
What did Ray Bob kind of put a bug in your ear about his brother, wanting to bring him in?
He messaged me a couple days ago and said it, but I talked to Bo earlier this week. We had a great conversation, as well as talking prior to this week. And so it was definitely a good conversation between Bo and I. Wanted to keep it a surprise as much as we could for everybody involved, that Bo was going to go first overall. So happy to have landed him, and hope that it also helped keep Ray Bob a little bit happier.
Well, and that's that. I mean, that's a big thing is making sure you keep those guys that are on the roster happy, and I'm sure bringing in his brother is gonna be a huge impact on that. And Evan, you ready to try to rock in and jump in on this? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? I kind of saw this one coming. I kind of mentioned it there for a second, but I think Bo is a great pick. He's one of the highest rated forwards in the minors system. He had a great season playing for the minors, and it was the stars kind of aligned with Florence winning the lottery after taking Ray Bob in the expansion draft. So I think this one a lot of people probably saw coming, but it's a great pick. He's going to do great things for Florence, I think, and a team that really has a lot of holes in that forward lineup is going to be exciting to watch Bo kind of fill that role.
Well, and we will definitely try to get Bo on if possible and get his thoughts.
Yeah.
With that being said, it looks like we've got the selection coming in from Albuquerque. And Evan, I'm going to go ahead and turn that one over to you and let you make that selection for us, or announce that
For
one,
sure.
I guess.
Yeah. So with the second overall selection in the season 3 Gohls draft, the Albuquerque Pharaohs have selected Wando James Jr., left winger sniper from the Brandon Wheat Kings. I did type it.
And Quando actually hails from California, over on the West Coast. Looking at what we've got with him, he is, let me scroll down here. So I'm looking at, he joined in week 4. He's a sniper, is a 6'3", 200-pound right-hander. We got too many different screens going here. And let's see, he was, and that's the problem with having so many. He was actually with the Brandon Wheat Kings. That's where he played his minor league hockey at. So here we go. First selection coming from the Wheat Kings with this Quande James Jr. And yeah, he's a young man that I spoke to myself. Really passionate. I mean, he's really fired up to get in on this. So it'd be interesting to see how this all comes together for him. We now have, make sure I'm looking at my notes right again. Florence is back on the clock. I will tell you this, folks, there was a lot of trading going on. If you weren't keeping up with those transactions going on, a lot of trades going on, a lot of movement going on as we prepared for this draft. And you're going to see this really come in this first round. A lot of people fighting to get up into this first round. Florence was one of the teams that made a lot of moves to get in here. Dublin is another one you're going to hear quite a bit. Albuquerque is another one that's going to come up in here quite a bit. But Evan, what are your thoughts about this selection on Quando?
Yeah, he's a really active player. He's always talking in the chats. I think that's going to be great in the locker room. He's a player. He scored a decent amount of goals in the minors as well, so you can expect to see that. I think on the wing, adding a scoring winger was kind of a need for the Pharaohs here. So I think he's going to be a great pick and someone to really look out for opposing goaltenders. I think he'll be able to score a decent amount of goals in his rookie season and really be a boost to that locker room.
Yeah, I agree. I've definitely seen him active in the Gen Chat, kind of wanting to get involved in this, really curious about the process, and I think that's going to be a big boost for him. And let's see, is Kamenev, are you able to jump in, kind of give us your thoughts on this? I'm not sure if he's going to be able to join us, but Kamenev.
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah, there we go. So tell us what your thoughts were here with this selection, Kamenev.
You know what? It was a big decision. I had a couple guys I'm looking at, but looking through activity wise, that's what really jumped out at me here was his activity on the Discord, in the forum, not the forums, on the streams, and we need that kind of energy here to help pick us up maybe out of the basement this season, get us moving back in a direction that we want to go.
Well, and I mean, you definitely had a really good draft last season as well. It wasn't your first selection, if I remember correctly, your goalie, Josh Young. So I think getting some active guys, getting some people involved in that, is going to be a real important piece for you moving forward. And I think that, the choices we make here play a big part in that. When I was looking at this, make sure I got my notes right on this, you also were looking at 3 forwards and 1 defender to fill out your roster before we get into the affiliate picks. And, what we're seeing right now is the first 2 guys coming off the boards are forwards. And like Evan was saying, this goes against what we saw last time where everybody was either defenders or goalies we had coming out as well. So it a little bit of a shift for us for last time, but I think it's a good indication of like what we were saying. Evan, kind of give me some more thoughts that you're thinking about with Albuquerque and their plan moving forward with this.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was kind of a need for them, so I think going a sniper on the wing makes a lot of sense. They're a young team. They struggled the last couple seasons, but they're coming up and coming. I think they're going to be exciting to watch, adding a skilled winger here. I am going to shift focus slightly, though. We do have a trade to report. Our first trade on the live draft show just came through. Both parties have accepted, so I can now announce it. It is Las Vegas receiving the 6th overall pick. In exchange, Dublin will receive the 9th overall pick and a Season 5 first-round pick. So Dublin moving back a few spots there, picking up an extra first in a couple seasons. So it's a decent-sized trade there. It doesn't affect the pick that's on the clock. But I will do a quick announcement of that one, not to hijack everything here, but Florence, with the third overall selection, has selected center Michael Briston III.
And Michael is from Toledo, Ohio, just kind of up in my old stomping grounds. And let me get back up in here in the right thing. He is also joined in week 2, a playmaker, 5'10", 165, right-handed playmaker. Something that jumps out real quick to me there, Evan, isn't that kind of small? Just my guess there. 5'10", 165.
Yeah, that is small. I think injuries could be a bit of a concern for him. But I mean, we've seen some smaller forwards succeed in this league. I mean, David Hume is 5'9", I think, 175-ish, so a little bit bigger weight wise, but and he had a great season. I mean, my own player, Ania Scola, is 5'9", 170. So we've seen some smaller forwards kind of succeed in this league, but they do exit the game injured from time to time and take some big hits. So something to keep an eye on for sure. But it can succeed, but it is a little bit small when it comes to the injury department.
Well, before I move on with this, the Dublin Dragons are now on the clock with their first selection in this draft. I mean, I was looking at this. He played his minor league hockey with Red Deer. Once again, the Rebels are getting somebody coming off the board pretty quick. And I feel kind of remiss, and maybe you can supply this for Evan. How did he do in the minors? I mean, just against some of these bigger defensive players that we see.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't keep track of how many injuries each player had or anything like that, but I don't recall him leaving too often. I think he was I think he held it up pretty well. And I mean, he played well. He was a guy I was definitely looking at to fill our final forward spot here in Turku. He's somebody who he's skilled. He's going to put up a lot of points. I think he was one of the top point getters in the minors. I don't have those numbers in front of me right now, but I believe he had a pretty good offensive season, and he held up physically, I think, against some of the bigger guys in the minors. And there were some big guys like Billy Big Hits, Alex Cage played in the minors, guys like that, big heavy hitters, Shane Knox, all kinds of enforcers back there. So he definitely did play against some bigger competition, and I think he did a pretty good job holding up against them.
Well, and I was going to just kind of looking through some of the notes that I have written down here. I mean, looking at the fact that Florence had needed 7 forwards, they've already selected 2. More than likely, these guys are going to be playing in the first, at least the third line for these for Florence, is they're going to be taking the ice. So I think that's going to be a consideration when we see this. I mean, I watched. I didn't watch every match last season, obviously, but watching some of these hits that are being laid out there, and there are. As I was looking through the notes on this, we got a lot of enforcers coming into this with this draft class, so that's going to be kind of interesting to see how this all kind of plays out. Now, I think though there can be something said for having a smaller guy. He's going to be a little bit quicker, a little bit more agile, and may be able to outskate some of these bigger guys. So that's going to be interesting, and that's something I'm going to want to see how that works out for them. They went forward with both of their first 2 picks, so I think, and that's just kind of an indication, I think, of the fact that we do have, ironically, more forwards that are needed. Just glancing down through my notes. I guess the question is, when do we think the first defender is going to come off off the board?
Yeah, that's kind of the question. I think last season we were all asking when the first forward would come off the board. There was a lot of defensemen needed last time, and like we've said a few times here at the top of the show, it's looking like the opposite here. And I think one of these 2 picks here with Dublin might be a great chance to grab somebody like that, grab somebody to bolster their blue line. If they don't do it, I would have to assume that Vegas is going to take a defenseman here. He's been trying to trade for a defenseman all week since he sent Castle to Twin Screw in Norfolk. So if Dublin doesn't take a defenseman here, I'd have to think 6 is going to be the first time a defenseman comes off the board.
Well, and with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and we've got the pick in for Dublin. I just saw it, flipping too many screens here. But Dublin has selected left defender Shane Knox. So our first defender has come off the board. Shane, I'm kind of looking at this. Shane's an interesting case because Shane wasn't actually, if my memory serves, was not actually drafted last season. So has been on the minors a whole season. Um, Comes in at a 6'4", 208-pound enforcer. Just kind of what we were talking about, this weight difference of 50 pounds roughly. But I think if I remember correctly, and Evan, correct me if I'm wrong, Shane was there all last season.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Shane joined in week 1, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been before that, but I think Mason Stonewall is the only prospect that was available last draft and played the whole season in the minors. I don't think Shane joined before that. So, but still, tons of progression under his belt. Had a great season in the minors. One of those big hitting defensemen I was talking about a few minutes ago when we were talking about Preston. So, and I mean, it's an active user here. I think anyone who's in a number of these sim leagues has known this Shane in a few of them and really seen that activity level. So been interesting to see kind of where he was going to go, and this was kind of the range I thought he was going to go, kind of in this 4 through 6 range, somewhere to Dublin possibly. Yeah, so I think it's a great pick. Going to be a great addition to the locker room. Even a couple of people in my locker room were telling me I should try to pick him, but I knew he wasn't going to be available when we went on the clock.
Yeah, and speaking of Shane, Shane is one of our international players. Normally when we think about this sport, we think mainly, obviously, because of where we're at in North America and Canada and the United States. But Shane actually joins us from Melbourne, Australia. So a nice international flavor there, and I'm sure we're going to hear his name called quite a bit when it comes to the fisticuffs that can occur during these matches. And looking at it, I think that it's with Dublin on the clock again. I mean, they've got back-to-back picks here, and they were looking. They've got their one defender, so we know this is gonna be a selection for a forward here, just because of the nature of the beast. And then they traded that third pick. They did have 3 picks in a row there. They traded that third pick that they had to Vegas and dropped further down in the first. So they think they might be able to pull something off here a little bit. But it's going to be interesting to see the way that and I got to pick on Dublin here because he and I have been talking about, me and Glasgow, him and Dublin having a little bit of a cross-channel rivalry going there. I think, looking at the rosters, this may be kind of one-sided for a while, but it's good to lay the groundwork for it. Let's see, if we got the owner in here that can jump in and kind of give us his thoughts on this and that trade that he did? I'm looking here real quick. No,
Is Reed or Rose available? Reed,
Yes.
do you want to jump in, kind of give your thoughts on that deal you made and then the selection of Knox?
Yeah. Well, we thought for the deal to be made, we wanted to trade back, try to get some more draft capital in the future, because I'm pretty confident we can pick up the guy that I was going to pick with the 6th pick. So that's why we decided to trade back. And Doug was he was jumping at the gun. He really wanted to get that 6th pick. So.
Yeah,
I think Doug's. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I agree. Doug's been he and I have been talking quite a bit about him trying to get back into that first round, and he was still working the phones this afternoon. So, it looked like it worked out for him. And with that being said, Dublin, it looks like you've got your 2nd pick of the sequence out, and obviously, as we would say, you went forward there. They selected left wing, Noah Bake. And let me flip over to my other screen here real quick. Just kind of tell you, Noah is a two-way forward, 6'3", 193, right-handed. And well, he actually comes to us from Seattle. And that one, he joined in week 4. I got to double check my screen here about where he was playing his minor league hockey at for
It was
us.
with Winnipeg.
Okay. Here's this one. I'm gonna be honest. This one kind of caught me off guard. I had Noah going in the first round. I didn't have him going this high. What about you, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of a hard one to predict. I mean, the player, he's very active in the chats. He's always been in the Twitch chat. He has interest in becoming a general manager or something down the line. He offered to help out a little bit with the Winnipeg Ice lines and strategies and stuff towards the end of the season. So somebody who's very active and is a good addition to the locker room. It was tough to tell where they were going to be picked. I'm looking at the Gohls experts mock draft here, and actually they're 5 for 5 so far. They had no Bake going here at 5 to Dublin, so they were bang on. I think the activity is a big factor there, and when you add that to being here since week 4, all that extra progression he has over some of these other prospects, I mean, I think it's makes sense for him to be in the first round for sure when you consider those factors.
Yeah, and I think that's something that when we look at this, that we kind of sometimes forget is it's not just the player on the ice, but we also look as owners, we look at the person in chat and what goes on during the games and that kind of stuff. And I always seem to forget this, but Las Vegas, you have been on the clock now for about a minute and a half. So we're waiting for the pick to come in from the centers. With that being said, Reed, you want to kind of jump in here and give us your thoughts on taking Noah there?
Yeah, Noah was kind of one of our targets at the start. He was very active, and we saw that. And I remember he was one of the first players I saw at the start of the season, and his activity, I took notice of that. And he progressed for most of the season very well. And his two-way forward build is something we're looking forward to having in Dublin this year. We want to build more of a defensive forward core for the bottom 6, and we think Noah Bay could definitely benefit to that.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, and
obviously Noah's got some great versatility with that two-way build. Somebody who could fill in on your penalty killing. Rose, did you want to hop in here and kind of touch on that and any conversations you might have had with Bake that led to you picking him?
Yeah, so we had a couple conversations with Bake throughout the season, or I guess throughout the off season, me and Reed, and as well as Knox. I guess going back to our previous pick, and just I mean, we're looking for good locker room guys, and that's kind of our priority. I mean, overall is one thing, but to have guys in the locker room to really help out, and knowing Noah wanted to take on a larger role, we're always welcome to help, upcoming GM and owners, our staff, and again, kind of like Reed mentioned, our penalty kill is important to us this next season. Losing, 2 of the bigger defensive defenders last season, it's something we bolster. So it was a no-brainer taking the best two-way forward in the draft.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense at this spot as well. And with that, we have the 6th overall pick from the Las Vegas Sinners. The pick is in. It is defensive defenseman, right defenseman, Andrew Schiffer.
well, and here again, once again, we're going back to the defenders here. With Vegas, as we were saying, they were concerned with losing some of the defenders they ended up losing. One of the nice things, and with Doug, and we'll kind of mention this real quick about him, they only needed one defender in their goalie. So, I mean, they were in a good position to go out and get the one that they wanted. With Andrew, and let me get back to my right notes here. Make sure I'm looking at the right one. No, I'm not. Hey, it helps if I look at the right one.
Well, I'll
He
help out
is
here.
from Cleveland. How can I mess that up? And I don't want to know how the Browns did today. But Andrew is a 6'2", 203-pound right-handed defensive D-man, as we would say. So, what are your thoughts on that one, Evan?
Yeah, he played for his season for Red Deer, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a great season, highest overall player entering the draft. I think he was a 64 at the end of the season, probably a little bit higher now with some of the offseason stuff. And yeah, it's been one of the earlier defensemen I expected to see go. So I'm not too surprised with this pick. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we start to see a few more defensemen go, or if people kind of shift back to the forwards with different levels of needs. And I think Schiffer's going to be a great addition to that Vegas blue line, and he kind of lucks into joining the Cup champs and hopefully putting in some good work in front of that new goalie they're going to have to bring in.
Yeah, and with that, Albuquerque is on the clock. Looking at my notes here, we got Albuquerque with actually the next two picks, and I think that will they may have one more left after that, because it looks like they've got they've got one of their forwards, so they got two forwards and a defensive man coming in. What do you think they're gonna do with this one, Evan?
Yeah, we took Quando James Jr. at number 2, kind of addressed a need there. And now he's got 3 picks out of the next 4. So it'll be interesting to see. He's got to grab a defenseman somewhere in here. And then other than that, I mean, Quando James and Matt Green have been kind of vocal in the chat about wanting to play together. So he has a chance here to put those two together. Other than that, yeah, really any direction he could go here. Maybe adding another sniper, somebody to help score a few more goals, and kind of get this team into the playoff race.
And that's the conversation I actually had with Matt Green myself about when I was talking to him about how they wanted to try to play together. And yeah, this is something I think people kind of miss in this mix. Yeah, as owners, we're trying to run our teams the best we can, but we also, within reason, try to accommodate what the players want. And I think that has to be kind of our consideration as well, because obviously if you bring somebody in that doesn't want to be there because they want to be playing with their friends, it's going to cause for an unstable locker room, clubhouse, and that's really something we don't want to deal with. So we try to do everything we can to accommodate players and their happiness, but at the end of the day, we're also, as you said, trying to win games. And I think that that's the piece of it, that trying to figure out how to get all that together. And I just, after you said that, I double checked my notes. 3 out of the next 4, and Albuquerque's going to be done then. Their draft night's going to be over until we get to the affiliate round. So it's going to make an interesting thing for them. They get to sit back and relax until we get to.
Yeah, so and I mean, Jess, you just kind of touched on Albuquerque being done until we get into the affiliate rounds. So for anyone that doesn't know what the affiliate rounds are, rounds 6 and 7 of this draft, each team is going to have a pick in each of those rounds, and we're going to draft players over and above our pro rosters to basically be minor league affiliates, sort of like the American Hockey League to the NHL. They'll play in the minors, and they'll get the first crack at a pro roster if a player leaves or something like that happens. Yeah, other than that, I mean, teams are going to be drafting 1 forward, 1 defenseman in each of those rounds. You can't do anything different. You can't take 2 forwards or 2 defensemen. And if you lose a player mid-season, that player's got to be the first players to kind of step up into that role. Did you have anything else to add, sort of, on that process there, Jess?
No, I think it's real important that y'all understand, if you are selected in the affiliate rounds, that you still are going to be given access to your parent team clubhouse. So, for example, the 2 players that we select for the Black Watch will be part of our clubhouse. They'll be part of the conversations that we have and moving forward with that. So if we need to make any changes mid-season, it's not going to be where you're coming in and having to try to get to know everybody in the clubhouse atmosphere. The big thing we want to do this is to give the minor league players an opportunity to get involved, and gets us more involved in owners and what's going on with the development of our players. And one thing I want to mention real quick is, as far as your progressions go, and this is something that gets discussed quite a bit, and we want to kind of make this clear. As owners, we cannot tell you how to do your progression. We can make recommendations if you want them. We can make suggestions if you ask for them. But the final decision on how you do your progression is up to you. And we have no problem at all with working with people and giving them information to let them do that. But the final decision is yours. And with that being said, we finally got the pick in for Albuquerque, and with the 7th selection of the draft, they have selected right defenseman Bane Cadis, and that's one I hate to see go off the board. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, me too. I was definitely considering him with one of my 3 second-round picks there. I know a couple other teams were working on that as well, so that's a great pick there.
Yeah, Bane is he's a 5'10", 180-pound left-handed offensive D-man. Bane is only joined us in week 12. I mean, he's a new signee, but boy, does he bring some fire. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I have spent quite a bit of time talking to him. He's a nice man. He's one of the guys. I mean, technically, I can call everybody around here young men, but he was just a nice guy to talk to. So he's going to bring a lot to a clubhouse, and that's the downside of coming into a draft like the situation I was in. I need one player. And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not a defenseman.
You meet all these people, and you want to. I mean, I've had conversations with probably 60, 65, or however many prospects there are. I've reached out to almost all of them, and so many of them are great people, and you want to bring them all in, but you only have so many roster spots to offer them, and it gets really tough, especially when you have people with friends on your team or family on your team or whatever, and you kind of try to work around that as best you can. But I mean, I know Bane was somebody a lot of people were hoping for. My newly appointed assistant GM was just messaging me saying "damn it" when Bane got picked, and um, so there's that. I mean, Dave was cursing in our ear, I think, for a second there. I think he wanted him too. So it's that's a nice pick for Albuquerque there. I think a little earlier than some people expected. But one thing I want to point out about Bane, when you're looking at the roster sheet, people might notice he's only like a 49 overall or something like that, compared to some of the other people who just joined that are already like high 50s or something like that. So overall isn't the most important number that we're looking at. It does affect our cap hit, the overall, but as an offensive defenseman, you start with some offensive traits a little higher, but since you're a defenseman, those don't weigh into your overall as much. So sometimes just looking at the overall can be a little bit deceptive. I think he's going to be a good player, even though he's got a really low overall at this point. Looking at on my team in Calgary last season, William Heaney led all defensemen but in points by I think 6 or 7 points, and he was only 54 or 56 or something like that compared to some of the other defensemen that are in the 60s and even 70s. So I wouldn't worry too much about the overall there. I think his activity in the locker room and some of the attributes he's already got, I think he's going to be a really good addition to Albuquerque.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think that Kamenev is really targeting some positive influences for his locker room there, and yeah, I think if we did a poll of the 12 owners, there would be 11 of us who were kind of pissed with that Bane selection. So, with that being said, we've got the second pick for Albuquerque in, and before I announce it, I'm going to go ahead and remind everybody that Dublin is going to be on the clock next. And this is no shock here, as we were just talking about with Quando. They have selected center Matt Green, who is expressed a desire to play with his friend Quando, and that's going to happen in Albuquerque. Just kind of looking at what we've got here. Matt is a sniper, and he is 5'7", 189 pounds, right-handed player. And flip over my other screen here. He is from Dallas, Texas. Where did we get him in his minors? He joined in week 10. So did he even play in the minors this season, Evan?
Yeah, he did. If memory serves, he played for Brandon for a little bit. He might have played like the final week or just the playoffs. I can't remember, but I believe he was on the Brandon Wheat Kings roster for the very end. And he looked good. He was somebody I was looking at drafting in the second round, possibly to fill our last forward spot. He was up there on my board. Once I kind of realized how close him and Kwando wanted to be, it kind of looked not to be possible for me. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Albuquerque uses him as a sniper center. I could see him playing on the wing sometimes with that lower face-off, or maybe he'll build that up and Albuquerque will play him up the middle, along with his buddy Kwando on the same line there. Be interesting to see.
Well, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of actually I'm going to let you do this, Evan, because I don't want to butcher any names. As a teacher, I do that enough. So
Fair enough. So yeah, we'll do a quick recap so far of the first 8 picks as Dublin goes on the clock here. So at first overall, Florence took Bo Diddle, brother of already on the roster Ray Bob Diddle. At number 2, Albuquerque grabbed left winger Kwando James Jr. Florence again on the clock at number 3. They took another center, Michael Briston III. Dublin then had back-to-back picks. They took left defenseman Shane Knox and left winger Noah Bake. Then Vegas, after a trade-up with Dublin, went up to grab defensive defenseman Andrew Schiffer. Albuquerque then, with back-to-back picks themselves, took right defenseman Bane Cadis and center Matt Green. And now here we are with the 9th overall selection. Dublin is on the clock. The pick has not been made yet.
And looking at just kind of the breakdown, for those of you that have not kind of realized what we did, the first 2 seasons we played as NHL teams. This season we decided to make a shift to custom teams. So we all kind of created our own team concept, our own team names, and we have all relocated to new cities. And that can get kind of confusing. That's why I keep looking down at my notes here to make sure I have the new team names. But just to kind of, I'm going to run through these real quick so everybody knows who we are and what the team ownership is. Alaska used to be Philadelphia. Albuquerque used to be Anaheim. Dublin was Detroit. Florence is a new team. Florida stays Florida. And Glasgow, my team, we were the Carolina Hurricanes. Ottawa was has become Jacksonville. Vegas is still Vegas. Norfolk is a new team, and Minnesota has become Redwater. St. Louis through Cleveland and like 15 other different places is now Tennessee, and Calgary is Turku. So those are all custom names, custom logos, custom everything else. So that is going to give us a lot more flexibility. All the teams now have Twitter accounts. So if you have Twitter, we ask you to follow those. If you go to the media reactions and the Twitter feeds on Discord, you can find all of the different names. But it would be really a way for us to get this going as well. And yeah, I'm not going to say one of those words that just popped into my head when I saw this pick come up from Dublin.
So I'll go ahead and announce it. Dublin, with the 9th overall selection, has selected left winger James Carter. So just based on your reaction, I'm assuming that was somebody that you had high on your board there in Glasgow.
Yeah, I tried to get fancy, and I outsmarted myself. I just needing one player. I was kind of looking at everybody and looking at the boards and ranking everything, and it was like, can I pull this off? Because I only had one draft pick for next season, and so I finagled my 3rd pick into like 3 draft picks for next season. So it was like, hey, cool. And I figured James would kind of slide down and slip through the cracks because I didn't seem that high on any of the boards. kind of a quiet guy, not the most active, but I really liked his build. I liked what I saw there, and I was really hoping that he could slide through. But yeah, the Redwater Undertakers are now on the clock, and I'm gonna yeah. James is one that we were looking at. James is another two-way forward, 6'1", 198 right-handed guy. Joined in week 4. Um, yeah, I'm trying now as I'm talking. Now you're seeing true teacher form because I'm trying to talk and think at the same time, and I'm failing miserably at both. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Evan for a few minutes.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'll let you adjust your draft board there and kind of rethink whatever you need to plan there. James Carter. I mean, I believe he played for Red Deer, if I'm not mistaken, for most of the season. And yeah, he had a good season. Decent production for sure. And based on like I mentioned earlier, I've got the experts mock draft or experts. I'm not really sure how accurate they've been now, but they did have James Carter going 207, which was after your or pick 7 of the second round, I should specify, which was after your selection. So based on their mock, they had him available for you, but yeah, that's yeah. Sorry guys, we just picked up on something here. Albuquerque is supposed to be on the clock. They were tagged in the draft channel, so hopefully
Sorry
hopefully that
about that.
doesn't cause any
My
sort of
bad.
issues.
This is when we talk about all the trades that were going on. This is what we mean. I mean, trying to keep up with, and this is what I love as an owner. I love the fact that we have so much shit. Damn.
We've got a lot of active people here and lots of
Yeah.
movements and stuff like that. So, and I remember we did lose a potential owner last season because he was frustrated that there wasn't enough movement. But I mean, earlier this week, in a 4 days period, we had 13 trades in 4 days earlier this week, and now you add the one today, that's 14 trades this week. I mean, there's been plenty of movement this week. I think it was just mid-season. He wasn't comfortable riding it out, but yeah, definitely an active group and a positive group here. So love to see all the trades, but sometimes it does cause us to forget who's on the clock.
And with that being said, Albuquerque has made their third selection, and they have selected right wing Evan Hunt, and that puts now we've got Redwater on the clock, and Evan is another sniper, 6'1", 215, left-hander this time. He joined us in week 10, and he is from Montreal, Canada. And I ain't gonna lie, he's another one I had high on my board. So it's I'm kind of shocked that happened. So we're still we're building. That's the key.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised to see Evan go here. I think, yeah, like he came in a little late, doesn't have a ton of progression under his belt, but right from the moment he came into the server, he was chatting and talking to everybody and very active in the prospects clubhouse. And I believe he tuned in and watched almost all of his games for Brandon. So somebody who came in right away and sort of his activity level kind of made up for his joining late, I think. So that was really good to see. So even though he doesn't have great progression history joining so late, he does have a lot of activity to back him up, and I think it's going to be a great addition to Albuquerque's locker room.
And we've actually got it just kind of dawned on me, Redwater, this is their first selection in the draft. They need 3 forwards and 2 defenders. And so it's because of trades that occurred and everything, that's what we're seeing here with them. Real quick, before we talk a little bit more about that, let's go to Kamenev now because he's done except for the affiliates. So how did it go for you, Kamenev? Did you get everybody you targeted or?
I got every single person I targeted.
Awesome. Great job.
So it was really, I guess, exciting draft. I wasn't expecting to get everyone I wanted, but definitely super stoked that we got everyone. And I'm sorry to hear that I stole two of your guys there, Jess, but it's the way it goes. um,
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. You know.
yep. And unfortunately for you, I've actually known I know Bane Cadis from another league, and I know Evan Hunt from I've known him for years, so
Yeah.
I had to get them both.
Awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think that those connections are huge. I mean, it kind of builds um, kind of, for lack of a better way of putting it, a back door. And we're very competitive when it comes to owners. So, but it's okay. I've still got a couple up my sleeve, so we're gonna see how this goes. But what are your thoughts so far with what we've got going on, Evan?
Yeah, you know what? I think the draft's going pretty well. I think most teams um, kind of came in with a direction they wanted to go, and for the most part, it looks like they're kind of filling that out. It seems the teams aren't too concerned. Obviously, a couple guys that we liked went off a little earlier than we would have been able to get them, but I think for the most part, teams will be pretty happy with what they've added so far, filling some obvious needs like Albuquerque with a couple of snipers, and getting those guys that he's known for a while. Um, Dublin adding a couple guys to help out on their penalty kill, and Knox to help out defensively. Florence adding a couple playmakers. I mean, it's really, yeah. I mean, teams are filling their needs, and I think almost everybody's going to be happy with how the draft is going so far, other than a couple of us that lost our targets a little earlier than we expected. And with that, I will throw up the pick for the Redwater Undertakers. It has been submitted, and they will be taking left defenseman Billy Big Hits. And this is another guy that I think a lot of people might know from some of the sim leagues. And he's been pretty active. I think he was in Gohls for a little bit a while ago, kind of came back and played for the Brandon Wheat Kings, had a great season there as well. And yeah, do you want to touch on Big Hits there, Jess?
Yeah, I mean his name suits him if nothing else. When you look at the physicals on him, he's 6'8", 230 pounds, and he's
Yeah.
a right-hander. I'm scrolling through here. We've got a 240, a 245, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's it. So yeah, he's it looks like he's put himself in a place to definitely earn that name. 6'8", 230 pounds. Man, when he lays the lumber on somebody, I think they're going to feel it. I definitely think they're going to feel it. And before we forget, Norfolk is on the clock with their first selection in this draft. But he's another one. I talked to him. Even though I tried to reach out to all of the prospects, even if I knew that for me it wasn't going to be until I got to the affiliate rounds to be picking a defenseman, just to get to know them, and just a real articulate. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say young man. I mean, just a real pleasant guy to talk to, and I enjoyed that. And even though I knew that it wasn't going to be possible for me to bring him in. Just looking at everything that I'm seeing here, it was a nice guy, and I think he's going to be a huge addition for them. Um, with that being said, so and he. I did not get to watch as many of the minor league games as I wanted to, but he's one that I definitely remember seeing out there. And Billy's from the United States, so we're definitely going to see a presence, I think, on the ice for them.
For sure, and obviously with my job as minors commission, doing a lot of the minor streaming, I did get to see most of the games. I mean, occasionally I'd put a game on while I was doing something around the house, but for the most part, I watched all the games. And even though he joined kind of late in the season, he kind of lived up to his name, some big hits, and especially a few fights. And I don't think he lost a fight. I think he knocked out pretty much everybody he took on, and I don't think that's going to be too surprising to too many people. And he'll be definitely a force to be reckoned with. So if anyone's thinking about taking a hit on one of their smaller forwards there, I'd think again. With that said, Rose wanted to hop on here for a second and talk about their 9th overall pick in Dublin there. So, Rose, if you want to come on and talk about two-way forward James Carter, floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to him, so.
Well, funny enough, I guess we have a little backstory for this pick. Going into today, Evan Hunt was actually our target at 6, but ended up leaving it to Reed to make a trade and make the pick. So we actually traded back, and I didn't know James Carter was going to be our pick there. Reed ended up taking the reins on that one, but James Carter was someone that I did talk to earlier this season, and we had a great conversation. I know he missed a progression in week 8, but for someone like him, we were willing to give him the opportunity to prove himself because stuff happens and you miss a progression. But with the makeups and with his attitude, we felt it was a great pick for us here. And again, we wanted that two-way forward to help our penalty kill next season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's going to be great on the penalty kill. And sort of on that topic, I don't remember if Jess mentioned it earlier when he was talking about progressions, but last season, as some may recall, last 2 seasons, it's taken if a player misses a progression, the team had the option to cut them right away. This offseason, I think Doug announced it, but we have upped that to 2 missed progressions that a player has to miss 2 before the team has the option to cut them this time. So we're giving a little bit more of a second chance there. We are a player's first league. So I think that's going to be really good for some of the players that, life comes up and there's a chance to make it up with Twitch points and stuff too. So I think that's going to be a really good rule. And looking, Norfolk has submitted their pick. I'll pass it over to you, Jess, if you'd like to announce that one.
Yeah, they have selected right wing Cole King, and Cole is a sniper, 6'1", 190, left-handed sniper. Looks like he joined us in week 3, so looks like he's got a pretty good amount of progressions there. He's from Nebraska, and yeah, these snipers are coming off the board pretty fast and furious here right now. I think and that's kind of a good way for us to end this first round is you see a real mix of forwards and defenders coming off there. It wasn't like last time where it was defenders and goalie. It's a real good mix, and it's nice to see that. What do you think? What's your thoughts on Cole?
Yeah, he was one of the snipers that I had highly ranked among that archetype as well. I think he's a really good player. He played for Red Deer, scored quite a bit. So that's somebody that I had somewhat high on my board if I wanted to grab a sniper. Which, with the way our forward group is built, we're pretty balanced. I think we could have gone sniper or playmaker, and Cole King was definitely in consideration if he'd slid a few more picks. And yeah, I think he's a great addition there at the end of the first round. That's kind of a steal, if you ask me, for him to go that late. But obviously, so many great players went ahead of him. It's kind of hard to say that he's going to be a steal or not a steal that late with so much talent in this draft.
Yeah, and that's I think that's the big thing is there's a lot of talent on that. And with that being said, Norfolk is going to be our first pick in the second round, so they're on the clock again. One thing I also want to mention, kind of piggyback on what you were saying about missing progressions. This is something I say as a teacher all the time. I'm psychotic. I'm not psychic. I freely admit I'm crazy, but I can't read minds. None of us owners can. And
Right.
all we ask is just kind of, you don't have to give us your life story. Just don't ghost us, because missing a progression and just send us a DM and say, hey, life's going on right now, but I'm not gone, gives us something that we can kind of hold on to. But if you just refuse to respond to DMs and stuff, and we know crazy stuff happens. I mean, we get it. And we try to give as much leeway as we can, but within reason, just kind of communicate with us so that we know that you haven't disappeared. And I don't think, well, I know for me as an owner, I'm not going to drop somebody just because life is going on. because I want you to enjoy the league. And for me, this is kind of an escape from life going on. But if we have no contact for a month, we've got a team to think about. And I know that sounds kind of harsh because it's a sim league, but we still have a team to think about. So you just kind of keep us in the loop as much as possible, and we will work with you as much as we can. So that's
Sure.
my teacher spiel for the day.
Yeah. We do have a pick in here. Norfolk has made their second selection, first pick of the second round, and the pick is left winger Henry Miles. Do you have your notes there on Henry there, Jess?
Yeah, he joined in week 4. He's a two-way forward, 6'2", 198, right-hander. And as we said, he's a left wing. Let me get to the right one here. And he is from Florida. Once again, he double check and make sure I got the right. Joined in week 4. So once again, we've got some progressions there to build off of.
Yeah, for sure. He had a good season there as well for Winnipeg. You know what? It looks like I'm on the clock now. So is Twin Screw around? Do you want to maybe talk about those 2 picks that you just made and kind of give your thoughts on the draft so far?
Yeah, I can come in. You guys hear me?
Yep.
What's happening, fellas? So I think I had a very good expansion draft, right? As best as it could be. I think I had some really good pickups in free agency. A couple of trades there to bring in a couple other players. I'm down to 4 players, so I don't think it's too bad for an expansion team. All forwards that I need. And really, depending on and talking about these last 2 picks here, the conversations that I had with players, most of them were very short, but to me, those short conversations really said a lot about that person. So I'm looking at those conversations and I'm going with, what can I get that's the best on the board? So that's really where I went for these last 2 picks here. Best on the board and good conversations really fit in with the team. I think they're great pickups for us here in Norfolk.
Well, and I think that's you didn't have as many holes as you could possibly have had, and you very active in the trade market, very very active in the trade market, and I think it's one of those situations where you planned out what you wanted to do. I mean, you needed 4 forwards, and that was it. And it just so happens that you're one of the best goalies in the league, so I think that's going to be a huge bonus for you. But you were able through veteran signings to build that defense up, and I think that kind of tells us an indication of what your thought is about where you want to focus your strength on. Am I barking up the wrong tree there?
No, I definitely wanted to go with defense. I think I make some great, awesome defensive pickups. Solidified my defense pretty early. And some of these the lower overall forwards here that I got, that's okay. We'll get some progressions in, and we'll be a good force to be reckoned with, I think, here early on.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, just not too much luck. As I'm sure we'll be playing each other, and you and I have known each other, gosh, almost, over a year and a half now, I guess.
Yeah,
Through
pretty
these
close, year
sim
and a half.
leagues. So, yeah, one of these days we're going to have to get together and have a cup of coffee or beer or something. But
For sure.
that's one thing I want to mention real quick about this. These sim leagues are really kind of crazy. Sometimes you bring in people and add them to the community, and other times the people that expands. And me and Twin Screw are a good example. Me and Doug Britton are another one. It's the way we've kind of got to know each other and things through this. So I think Mike's going to do a hell of a job there, and that's my concern, that Mike's going to do a hell of a job there. And with that said, it looks like that Turku has got their pick in, and I'm going to let Evan. I'm going to let you go ahead and announce your own pick there. So, because this one doesn't surprise me at all. He's another guy I had quite a lot of conversations with.
Yeah, for sure. And just before we forget, this will put Jacksonville on the clock when this pick is submitted. But with the second pick of the second round, Turku Finns have selected left defenseman Sergei Pak. So this was one. I just had pretty much the whole time you and Twin Screw were talking, I was going back and forth with my new assistant GM, David Hume, and we were talking about flipping a coin or something to try to decide. But we're very happy with Pak. There's a lot of great talent here, and it was a tough decision, but ultimately, I think Pak is going to be a great addition to our blue line. We really struggled defensively at times last season. We allowed the most goals in the league all season long, which is kind of surprising given for the first 4 weeks or so we were actually one of the fewest goals against teams. So to kind of see that swing was a little concerning. So bringing in another big defensive guy is going to really help bolster that back end, and we're really excited to bring in Sergey, see what he can do.
Well, and Sergey, I just kind of looking at it here real quick. Joined in week 12, 6'4", 240-pound left-handed defensive D-man from Kiev, Ukraine. And I mean, he's another guy that I had conversations with that I wish I would have been able to have a spot to bring in quicker, because seems like just a real nice guy. With that being said, we're going to rock and roll on this because Jacksonville Vipers have put their selection in. They have selected the right defenseman, Carl Sylvester. And Evan, that puts you back on the clock again. So I'm going to go ahead and make my note here real quick. I talked to Carl as well. Another really nice guy. He was one I knew that was not going to be around when I had a spot for him. Have I got the wrong graphic here, or because I've got in my notes Turku's on the clock. Maybe I've got it wrong here. There we go. Okay. But he was just a really nice guy that, like I said, I knew was just going to be gone before I would be able to do anything along with it. And he's from Canada. And let's see, have we got, get back on my notes here. Have we got anybody from Jacksonville in here that wants to talk us through this real quick?
Yeah, I can talk through this pick.
Okay.
Carl, both me and Scurvy that I reached out to prior to the draft, we had very good talks with him, and that was the number one guy we wanted to fill up our defense.
And looking at this, I just got too many sheets of notes here. You needed one of each, one forward and one defender, and so you got the number one guy on your board. You said for that solidifies your defense. What was it about Carl that just kind of set him aside for you?
So he has a very similar build to our last year's draft pick of Robert Garrett Jr., and he had such a great year for us, so we're just kind of running back with our offensive guy.
Yeah, I was going to say Carl joined in week 3, an offensive D-man, 6 foot, 210-pound right-handed player, and Robert Garrett was one I will freely admit I had on my board last year that I wanted to bring in. So, just like before, I will say that I wish you luck, but not too much luck when it comes to that one. And with that being said, so we can keep rocking and rolling here, Evan, you've made your selection, so go ahead and rock with it. Oh, well, and we're getting word in our ear that there's an owner trying to be an owner out there, and welcome to the big leagues.
Well, we do appreciate everything Dave is doing for us behind the scenes, but he's still got a team to run, and he's going to be on the clock right away here as well. So, I guess I'll announce my fourth pick of the second round here. It is another offensive defenseman going back to back here. It is Nick Kane. So Sylvester just went to Jacksonville. Now the next offensive defenseman off the board is Nick Kane, coming to Turku, Finland to play for the Finns.
Yeah, and Nick is from New York. Let's look over here. He joined in week 9, as Evan said, an offensive D man, 6'4", 210-pound right-hander, going to be going there to Turku. What was it about him, Evan, that caught your eye?
Yeah, I think he played really well in the minor season this year. I believe he played for Brandon. He looked great on the ice, and his build. He's got a great size. Something that we were happy with. A big-bodied offensive defenseman like that. We have, Heaney in Turku. We had him. He led all defensemen in points, um, and we had an offensive defenseman second offensive defenseman last year with Mikey Adams, and then to start this season we had Ibram Gonson, and we lost Gaunt after week 2, and after that we didn't really have a person to kind of quarterback our second power play, so we kind of went with some two forward two-way defensemen, trying that out with Stahl and Schmitz, and then towards the end of the season for the last few days and into the playoffs we actually ran. We found some success with it, but I think just having Nick Kane there as another offensive guy on the back end with some good size, so he'll hold up in his own end. But I think having that offensive ability will kind of help us keep scoring while still bolstering our defensive problems and kind of.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that we all look at is how can we get that balance. You got to protect the net, but at the same time you got to get the puck down the ice and put it in a position of where you can score with it. So um, it was a crash course in trying to balance all that myself last season, and I spent quite a bit of time talking to different owners and without asking them to give their game plans away to kind of help with this strategy. One of the questions we get asked a lot is, do you have to have NHL 22, which is what we're going to be a part of this league? No, you do not. The only ones that actually have to have it are the streamers. Whoever in the league is streaming the games. Everybody else, you don't have to have it. If you want to, that's fine. If you want to play your own games offline, that's fine. But this is a created league where you create your player. All the data is input, and I want to stress it has numerous sets of eyes that go in and look at it to make sure that we don't make mistakes. To verify that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Um, then we turn the game on, we shut the controllers off, and the game does everything itself. So if you are thinking, oh, I'd like to do this, I'd like to get involved in this league, I don't have the game, where do I get the game? You don't need it. So I think that's one of the biggest questions we get asked is, where do I get the game at? And just come in, create your player, and keep up with your progressions, and we do the rest with that. So, Evan, I see that selection and I want to let this go to you because I got some paperwork to work on.
Sure. So Tennessee has made their selection, and that is with the first pick in the second round, 17th overall. The Tennessee Black Bears have selected left winger Joseph Getzlaff. So yeah, so that's one of our newer players who just joined the league not that long ago. If he can live up to even a little bit of what that last name has done in the real NHL, that's going to be a great addition for Tennessee here. I don't know if Axis is available. If you wanted to chat about that selection for you,
I am available.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, he seems like a great person. Yeah, obviously he joined a little late, so he doesn't have a ton of progression under his belt, but he's uh, somebody that should be a good addition to that locker room there in Tennessee. And right now we have Glasgow on the clock, so Jess is doing his paperwork, as he said, and thinking about what he's going to do with that pick. Um, oh yeah, all good. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, so
Hold on. I was muted,
there's
bro.
our second.
I was muted, bro. Sorry. All right, real quick. I'll give you the quick recap. We loved Getzlaff. We loved Bane. Bane was our first choice. Bane got taken. Getzlaff was our 1A. So we were lucky that he fell to us. We're very happy. Some other people are mad at me that I took him, and I think that's about it in a nutshell. So we're happy to have him. We like to take. We know he doesn't have a lot of value. He hasn't been here a long time, but he's already been active. And we like to take good people. We can always build player value later. And Greg Soto, shut up. I'm out.
So there we are. There's our second mute mistake of the night. Not too bad, given we're this far in. I mean, I think we had a few more than that last time, so it's looking good so far. And Jess and Glasgow has submitted their pick. That will put myself and Turku back on the clock. So I will go ahead and let Glasgow's owner and co-host of the show, Jess, make his announcement.
Well, I selected Center Terry Labonte from Raleigh, North Carolina. He is an enforcer. Um, Terry's been here since week one, and he's 5'11", 180 pounds, right-hander. Um, I know a lot of the mocks had us, and a lot of conversation had us going with sniper, and that's what I was going back and forth with. Carolina, Glasgow, I guess Blackwatch now. I want a physical team. We've got some strong guys on the back, some enforcers. I think I have 3 enforcers now on the defense. This will give us 2 on the forward line. I want us to play physical, and I think Terry will give us that presence. Sniper, yeah, could have given us another shooting threat, but um, I think that the way the guys are progressing, the roster that we have, bringing in 2 playmakers that we did in the off season, I think is going to help us with setting everything up and moving the puck down the ice and putting it in the net. But I want something to give us that physical presence. And also, I've talked quite a bit to Terry. He is about 3.5 hours from me. He and I had some really good conversations. To be honest, I'm kind of shocked he fell this far down to us. And he was, so I had some guys all kind of in a similar place on my draft board and making that decision. So I'm really pleased to bring Terry in. I think he'll be a great addition to the Black Watch. And with that said, it looks like that Turku has already made Turku. I know I'm going to just completely butcher your name, Evan. So yeah, you made your pick. Go for it.
Yeah, sorry guys, I forgot to put Glasgow's pick on the board, but there it is, Terry Labonte. And now to announce my third pick of the draft. Our team just made our third pick of the last 6 picks, and that is going to be forward Jason Willis, right winger. Very new to the server, but that is a pick that he has ties to our rookie pick from last season, David Hume. They're roommates, I believe. They're good friends. They get to watch the games together now as they play together in Turku.
Okay.
That was a nice kind of stars aligned for us there. So we're pretty happy to bring Jason in. And now I will join Albuquerque on the bench, as I am done now until the affiliate rounds, barring any trades, which I don't foresee happening, and Florence is back on the clock now.
Well, and that being said, I'm sitting over there with you. I'm sipping my Gatorade and kind of watching this one go by. Jason joined in week 14. He is a 5'10", 176-pound left-hander that's a playmaker. And if I remember correct, I just looked at it, but he is from Alberta now. Another one of the Canadians coming together up there. So as you were saying,
Awesome.
joins some friends up there. But with that being said, though, it's I just kind of go back to that point that I was making earlier, and how this all becomes an extended family. And last draft, for those of you who weren't here, I messed up. I got to own it. My wife was in the draft, and I did not select her. So I spent the whole season. Every time we would play against Minnesota and we lost, I had to do the dishes. And I did the dishes a lot. But she is now on my team. So, this is something we would sit and watch every game that we could watch together. And this is what this is. So, I just, it's really cool when people can sit there and share that experience. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and it looks like, Evan, we got the pick in from Florence. You want to go ahead and take that one?
Yeah, for sure. So Florence has made their pick, as Jess said. It is a center, and out of Brandon, it is Jojo Vazquez. So that's another active player. I believe I saw him a few times in the Twitch chats. So it's going to be a nice addition for Florence up front, and I think Squibs is going to be pretty happy that Jojo was available for him here with the 20th overall selection. I guess, is Squibs around? Did you want to hop in here and talk about that pick for a sec?
Yeah, Evan, I'm here.
Awesome. Why don't you walk us through the decision to take Jojo and what that pick means for your lineup?
Yeah, so earlier this season, this offseason, I reached out to Jojo. We had fantastic conversation. He was very high on my board, and thankfully, just looking at his overall, and it looked like he might have missed a progression there, week 7 or so. So thankfully, I felt a bit comfortable that he might still be there. Wow, words. Which is why I was able to make that trade with you earlier this week to net me that extra third rounder. So I was able to take a quick step back for that pick, get the guy that was very high on my board, guy that I was hoping would be there. And so, yeah, I intend to possibly utilize him on the wing. We've talked a lot about that. And so I like snipers coming off the wings a bit more than out of the center position, but he'll have that versatility to be in both places.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's going to be a great addition to you and giving you some lineup flexibility as you set those lines and kind of keep building out that forward core. As Jess mentioned, coming into the draft, Florence needed 7 forwards. Now you've picked, I believe, 3, maybe 4 of them now. 3. So that's starting to take shape there. So that's great. With Red Deer here on the clock. Sorry, Red Water on the clock. Still waiting for that selection, I believe. Jess, did you have any thoughts on that JoJo pick?
Well, JoJo was another one that was on my board, and that was one of the ones that I ain't gonna lie, I was tossing around. JoJo joined us in week 6. He's a 6'1", 205-pound left-handed sniper from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Yeah, he was, and I was sitting over here, felt like I was flipping the proverbial coin, because he's one that I talked with quite a bit as well, and I think they got him a good one going in there, because he just seemed like he was ready to come in and do what he needed to do to help out his club, and that's an important one for all of us. So with that in, it looks like that we've got the pick in Redwater, and I'll just go ahead and jump on that one since I'm looking at it. Is they have selected Senator Mr. Minsk. I know I'm probably saying that wrong. Mintx. Um, and
Yeah, that's
he,
one that I struggled with all through the minor season whenever I'd commentate. Those two letters together, I don't know what to do. I'm
yeah,
lost.
it's sad when you got two teachers sitting and looking at it, going, "Okay, how do we say this?" And we could not come to an agreement. So, don't feel bad. And with that said, before I forget it, we got Norfolk on the clock here with our next pick. Um, that one was one he was another one I was kind of like going back and forth, and it was funny because the very first mock that came out before I traded my third pick, that was the name that got plugged in there for me. Was we were going to take him with the third pick. So and it was when I was looking at this, it was like, do I pull the trigger on this one? And I think they got him a good one. Yeah, if we've got
Yeah,
Bo around, I think it would be great for us to talk to the first name call to come off the board.
yeah, we've got Bo Diddle joining us here. Bo, how you doing? And how did it feel to be the first pick in this draft?
Hey man, how's it going? It feels great. Hey, it's awesome. And the Firebirds bring the bandit Bo Diddle to the Firebirds. That's gonna be a good time. And being reunited with Ray Bob, my brother, it's gonna be a good time, man.
Awesome. At what point did you kind of think that you might be picked by Florence? Did they give you a heads up, or were you just kind of hoping, and was it more of a surprise when he called your name?
Well, I talked to quite a few different teams. They reached out, and so I knew that I knew there was a lot of different possibilities. But when the Firebirds reached out, and they had the number one pick, and I thought that was going to be a possibility. Man, that really got my juices flowing, and now I'm ready to just hit the ice and get out there and see what I can do for this team. And me and Ray Bob, we've already been talking about it, and we want to do what we can, man, to get this team to a championship.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, speaking of Ray Bob, obviously you're reunited with your brother there. What was it like when he got claimed by a pro team partway through the season? You had to finish the season with Red Deer without your brother in the locker room.
Oh, you know what they say, man. It's bittersweet, right? So it's awesome that he got picked up and he got to experience, the pro team. He went all the way to the championship. I mean, that's awesome, and I was really happy for him. But at the same time, like you like being on the ice out there with your brother. So you like skating beside him. You grow up together, you do things together your entire lives, and it's fun to get involved in the teams and be together. But I was happy for him. I was happy that he was able to get picked up and, like I said, make a championship run. And I got to stay back with the Red Deer, and we got to had a championship run of our own. So it was
Yeah,
nice for both of us.
yeah, you both ended up with championships, and I know when you guys were playing together, it seemed like you always assisted each other's goals. So we'll see if that reunites in Florence. Did you have any questions here for Bo there, Jess?
Well, I was just going to ask, did seeing your brother and the moves he made, did that just kind of was that a motivation for you to push yourself a little bit more, get your name a little bit more out there to join him somewhere?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, it's like a sibling rivalry, right? So I can't let him be better than me. That's how it always is. So, yeah, of course, I saw him. He did well and he excelled, and that just makes me want to, make my game better so that I can at least make it back up to his level. But now I get to
So,
rub being the first round pick in his face a little bit, so that's nice.
well, and I've got a younger brother myself, so I've got to ask the proverbial question: who's going to score more goals next season?
Oh, Ray Bob's the shooter, man. He'll probably score more goals. I'm gonna beat him in
Okay,
points, though.
okay.
Sounds great. All right, well, Bo, thanks for taking the time to join us here. Congrats again on being the first overall pick, and have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and thanks for reaching out to me, and Hey man, go Firebirds.
Awesome. All right. While we were talking about there, we did have a pick. Twin Screw submitted it for Norfolk. Did you want to take a stab at that name, Jess, or do you want me to take that one?
I think I got this one because I talked to the wife about this one. Okay. Bjorn Madison, center. From let me see, and I wrote down where Bjorn was from because he's from Norway. Holly Neds, y'all are going too quick because I can't keep up with some of this stuff here. Where did Bjorn? There we go. He joined us in week 12, a 6 foot, 196 pound right hand playmaker. So was he able to get in any ice time in the minors?
I'm trying to recall if he
No, he
played
wasn't.
in
He
the
didn't.
playoffs. No, yeah, I didn't think so. There's another player with a similar name to him. I think played in just the playoffs. So kind of confused me a little bit there. But no, he didn't join in time to get in the minors playoffs. But nonetheless, I think he's gonna be a great player there for Norfolk.
And before I forget, once again, we do have Florence on the clock, so they're getting ready to be making another pick there, another selection there. Yeah. Once again, we're starting to see these guys that are later additions coming off the board, and here we're still in the second round. So I think that's kind of an indication of involvement, activity, that those play a huge part in this process as well as we're looking at this. Yeah, and we're real lucky. Once again, we've got another player. We're going to be Michael Bristow the third, Briston, excuse me, the third in, and just have a few words with him. Make sure I got this written down right. The number 3 selection, third pick that went to Florence, who is on the clock right now. Are you with us there, Michael? Okay. Are you with us there, Michael? Okay. We're gonna try a third time here. They say the third time's the charm, and is if nothing else, we can overcome any technology here. Michael, you with us now? Okay.
All right.
We're gonna keep working on that. But yeah, Evan, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, while we wait for that, Michael Briston the third, he's like you mentioned, he was Florence's third selection or their second selection, the third pick overall in this draft. So it was a good timing here with them going on the clock to see if we could get him on to chat a little bit. I did reach out to all of the top 3 picks. Quando James Jr., who went to Albuquerque, he's busy tonight, so he wasn't available. So Briston will be the second of our top 3 selections to be interviewed here, and whenever we do figure out this technology. But yeah, it's exciting to see what he can do for Florence when he hits the ice. Do you have any thoughts on where Florence is going to go here, Jess?
Well, I think looking at it, to me, the obvious thing is they're still going to go with their forwards. I mean, in my opinion, you can bury a so-so defender, but you've got to, because of the quick rotations on that front for the offense with those forwards, they going in and out of different scenarios. It's much harder to hide mediocre players in those forwards. And I'm not saying the further we go into the draft that the players are mediocre, but starting out, if they've only got 1 or 2 weeks of progression, that's going to put them at a disadvantage. And so I think the owners are weighing this out, especially those that need forwards. That's where we're going to see that shift, and we're going to start to see more of the forwards come off of the board. Just because of the nature of the beast. And with that being said, it looks like that Florence has made their selection there. So I'm gonna go ahead, and that was this was a name that I've been kind of watching. I'm not gonna lie. It is left wing Preston Garvey, another new guy. I mean, literally. Let me go back and look at my notes to make sure I got them right here. Yeah, it wasn't even showing him on some of my list. So that's how quick this guy was coming in. What's your thoughts on Preston?
Yeah, it's another player that joined very recently. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Florence is kind of going for like a locker room presence here. Obviously, as a team, an expansion team coming in with lots of needs, I don't think they're worried too much about somebody who has a full season of progression under their belt already. Whereas somebody like Vegas, who just won a cup, might want to try to repeat, needs somebody who's a little bit more progressed and seasoned. Same with somebody like Alaska, who we haven't had it on yet. They just went to the cup final, so they're going to need to add somebody who's a little bit more ready and ready to compete. Whereas Florence is able to take somebody who, it's activity, positive attitude, and then the progression will be there, and they'll catch up for sure. I mean, rookies come in. Looking at last season, rookies came in a little bit behind, but most of them were able to catch up to the veterans pretty quick, and I think we'll see that a lot with some of these players who joined really recently here.
Yeah, and with that being said, before I forget it, Florida, the Challengers are on the clock with, I believe, this is their first selection of this draft. Is that correct?
Yeah, they have not made a pick yet. And speaking of,
Yeah,
and they have just made it as we were talking. And this one comes as no surprise to me. I'll go ahead and announce this one. They have taken left defenseman Gertie Adams. Adams may sound familiar. Her husband, Mikey Adams, plays on the Florida Blue Line as well. So husband and wife being reunited there with the Florida Challengers. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jess? I know, like, my wife plays on my team as well. We took her in the second round last season. I know last season you kind of alluded to it that you didn't have your wife on your team, but you do now. What are your thoughts on them going with Gertie here?
Well, I actually reached out to Gertie. She's 6'4", 223, left-hander, and she told me that she was wanting to play with her husband, but she was open to possibilities, which I thought was really kind of cool. But I know how close it came to a couple of times that I got relegated to the couch based off of outcomes of games. So I didn't want to put him in that situation. But I think it's really cool, and last season we were playing on different teams, so that made a different element to it. But I think having that and having that to look forward to this upcoming season, that it's something that's removed from all the shit that's going on out there, that we can enjoy and share together. I think that's kind of it's nice, that it just gives us something else that we can participate in and spend time together enjoying. And I think that's a part of this league that may not have been considered when it was first developed. And I'm looking forward to it, especially now that I won't have to do dishes if I lose. Well, she still made me do that since I'm the owner, but it now watch. I'm discouraging all of the guys from. I don't want my wife to get in this, because if that happens, I don't want to be doing dishes. In all honesty, she only made me do it once, and that was when we came back and beat them in the third period. So, seriously, it's something I really enjoy, and I think that it's kind of cool that we were able to put them on the first team, on the same team, her first season. Twin Screw says that's why we have kids that do the dishes. Mine are all gone. I guess that's why I bought a dishwasher that works now. So what are your thoughts? I mean, you've had your wife on the team, so you've had a little bit different experience that I've had with it.
Yeah, having her on the team is good because, I mean, now when I watch the game, sometimes I don't have to watch it on my computer or my phone off to the side on the couch. I can put it up on the TV and watch it with her when she's looking for her player there too. So It's great having her on the roster, and I'm sure Gertie will be ecstatic to see that she was taken by her husband's team there. I remember last season I was doing the draft in this very room here, and through a couple of walls there is our living room, and my wife was in there watching the draft, and when we announced the pick, I think it was the 6th pick of the 2nd round or something like that, I heard a woo coming through the walls. My staff heard it on the voice call I had going with my GM and coach, and it was pretty. She was pretty happy, and I'm sure Adams is thrilled as well. So without further ado, we have Florence's pick to kick off the 3rd round. Did you want to announce that one there, Jess?
Well, that is a right defensive, two-way defenseman T. Benz, joined in week 13, another late signee, 6'2", 215 pounds, right-hander. Yeah, and I will throw this out real quick just to kind of end that conversation about the spouses, or having my name is Otis Boudreau as my player and hers is Odette Boudreau. It got kind of confusing. So if you hear my player referred to as Otis, that's why, because I was trying to keep it a little less confusing instead of Boudreau, slamming Boudreau into the, it was crazy. So we tried to make it a little bit easier on everybody. But T-Benz is from New York City. And once again, I'm not sure with that late of a signee, it's not going to be someone that I think would have been in the minors. With that said, before I forget, Albuquerque, you're on the clock.
Yeah, and to touch on that, T-Benz was not in the minors. He joined like this week, like last weekend maybe. I'm not surprised to see
Sorry,
Florence take him
Albuquerque's
here.
not in the clock. They don't have any more picks.
Yeah. Oh, right. Sorry, yeah, they have that was an extra pick. If they made a trade, they would have that slot. So we're moving on
Okay.
to Florence again. Yeah, I should have kept an eye on that with yeah, no trade there. So it's an extra pick. Oh,
Now we just
hold
got
up.
notified. We're getting word that there is a trade that's going to be processed. So bear with us, folks.
Yeah, so we will
see what this trade is coming in.
Yeah, so we'll let their clock go until they send the trade in to me, and we'll see what this trade is. Apparently it's been called in now, so I will.
I'll let you deal with this trade, and
if you want to take a talk.
I think it's really cool, though, and for those of you that have family members or people that you want to know, it's really kind of neat to have this as kind of an extension of the conversations that you have. I will honestly tell you that my wife is now in 3 of the sim leagues that I'm in, actually all 3 of them that I'm in. And when I first got involved in these about a year and a half ago, she was really kind of, this was your thing and stuff. But now she's really enjoying them, and I think she's got a kind of her character, and she does her thing, and I have mine, and so it's really enjoyable. It's going to be nice to have her on the same side I'm on this time, and just the big thing to remember when we're doing this is the more active that you are, the more that you engage. And I'm gonna tell you, some of these new people that joined were contacting me as the owner. I couldn't keep up with everybody, so people were contacting me and saying, "Hey, are you looking for this? Are you looking for that?" That is cool. Rock on with that, folks. Keep doing that, because even during the season, we're running our teams, we're doing our things, but you watch us just as much as we watch you. So it looks like
The trade is confirmed. I have the details here now.
here we go. I'm going to turn the mic over to him. No, let's rock with this.
All right, so we have the trade details. It is the Florida Challengers have traded up and acquired the 3rd round pick number 2. In exchange, they will be sending the 4th pick of the 4th round and a season 5 second rounder. Well, so the way there's a little bit of confusion there. The way the draft board was set up by Doug, it technically is the 9th pick because there's a bunch of skip picks in between. Looking at our draft board we have now, we condensed that. So Tennessee has the 2nd pick. Florida's 9th pick in the 4th round just got bumped up to the 4th pick, if that makes sense. So it's the same thing. 9th pick before the draft. Now that we've condensed, it's the 4th pick of the 4th round and a season 5 second going to Albuquerque in exchange for the current on the clock pick. And Florida can make their selection whenever it is in. Jess, did you want to take a run at announcing that one while I get this trade process?
And this is another one that I practice with my wife. So right defensive player. Make sure I got this right. Right defensive man, Alexei. That's why I need the English teacher.
Svechnikov.
Thank you. See,
it's that's a name I've gotten a little familiar with watching Carolina Hurricanes. Andrei Svechnikov. He's on my fantasy team, so I've gotten familiar with that last name.
How do I not know that? Because that's actually the team I've been watching lately. See, that's why I'm a history teacher and she's the English teacher. Because, Alexei, though, it was really kind of interesting when I was putting this together. 6'2", 212-pound left-hand defensive D-man, joined in week 14. In player creation, put the hometown is Nigeria, and which I thought was really kind of cool. With that name, I was. Yeah, I saw that, and what I thought was weird, me being a history geography teacher, the biggest city in Nigeria is Lagos, Lagos. It's not is a city. It's not listed in the game, so Nigeria is listed, but Lagos isn't. So I went through the top 4 cities in Nigeria. None of the cities are there, so I thought that was just really kind of an odd. Yeah, you have the country, but none of the cities in it. So
that is interesting.
And as somebody said, I'm a wealth of useless information. With that said, Florence, the Firebirds are on the pick on the clock. Is that correct this time? Have we got that one right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that my notes were correct here. What we're doing is we're finishing up the 3rd and into the 4th round. You're going to see a lot of teams that are have similar picks, similar names. It's because there's teams like us and Turku, Albuquerque that have filled our rosters. Once we get to 19, we can't pick anymore. And so that's where you're going to see that affiliate rounds coming in later. So as teams fill up to 19 players in their Gohls team, then they drop off the draft board to allow other teams to fill up to 19. And then we will start officially with round 6. And that will be the rounds where the affiliate players are going to be selected. So as you hear these same team names over and over again, that's going to be why. And it's not an indication of one thing or another with a team. With the expansion draft, with players leaving, there are a lot of different factors that come into this. Players may ask to be traded, or trades involving players, which open up roster spots. I never knew that running a fantasy or a simulation team in a league like this would be this much work. But it is. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and for sure. It's a lot of moving pieces.
I will tell you that's one of the reasons I'm trying to get my wife more involved, and I'll make her the co-owner and secretary, because she all these lists that I've got down here, she wrote them down for me. All I did was I said, okay, I need you to write these lists out for me, and she loves doing those kind of things. So, that's I get her more involved in it, and for those of you that are joining the league or thinking about joining, if you want to get involved in this front office stuff and coaching, any of that kind of stuff, reach out to us. Let us know. We are more than happy to work with people and kind of teach you the ropes, so to speak. Dave with Tennessee was given about a week, and last season 2 of us were given less than that. So the more that we have ready and involved in interest in this, it will help with expansion. With that being said, Florence has made their pick here, and it is left wing. Zumi Anderson, another week 14 player, a sniper, 6'2", 205 pounds. I didn't get a chance to talk to Zumi. So another one from Baton Rouge, the Louisiana boys. But they're going with these forwards now. They obviously need 7-0, and this is going to be an issue for them. With that being said, Redwater Undertakers, you are on the clock. And Evan, what are your thoughts of this selection of Zumi?
Yeah, Zumi, it's a newer joinee of the server. It's something or somebody I don't know a ton about. Yet I did reach out. Didn't really have much conversation. I think I did get have a little bit of back and forth there, but so a little bit of a I don't want to say off the board because he seems active. Could be a great addition, but not one that I thought was going to go here. Definitely a good pick, though. I think if it can be as good of a locker room addition as we thought. And we will have Squibs, the owner of Florence, come on in a second to discuss his last few picks, and we will. But before that, we are going to announce Redwater's first of their 2 back-to-back picks here, and that is left winger Teddy Iraldi. So with that, we'll come back to Iraldi, but Squibs, are you around? Did you want to talk about the last few picks that you guys have made?
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks, guys. So starting with Garvey, obviously a lot of the people that I just took were newer to the server. Starting with Garvey, he's friends with JQ, one of my defensemen that I got in the expansion draft, and I valued Jay's presence as well as his word. Felt that Garvey would be a great locker room addition there. Following that was, I believe, T-Bins. Tom is a really good personal friend of mine. Known him for years now, so I was able to get him into the league. He's not too well known on hockey, so hopefully this can help teach him some things. And then following up with Zumi, I know that was kind of a bit out there as you were kind of talking about it. All the mocks from the experts today had him going, I think, in the affiliate rounds. We talked a lot earlier today, had really good conversations. So granted, there were some better snipers on the board. Didn't really have any conversations with them, so I didn't want to just grab them without kind of having that conversation with them first. So whether it's my bad or not, we should find out. But I feel like Zumi would be a great presence in the locker room, as well as these other guys who are friends with people on the team.
Yeah, awesome. Obviously the locker room presence is a big factor in leagues like this. I mean, you can be the best player in the world, but if you go inactive or disappear, then your player's gone and it doesn't matter anymore. So definitely considering those that activity level and the positive attitude, the chatting and all that, that's a huge thing to think about with the locker room the way it is. And we do have Redwater's next pick here. I'll pass it over to Jess if you want to announce that selection.
Well, real quick, I'm going to just go back with Terry, 5'11", 195-pound right-handed playmaker that's coming off of there. And with their next pick, Redwater goes defense, and they are going to select right defenseman Alex Dar and offensive D-man, 6'6", 230, right-hander, joined in week 13. And I think, real quick looking, Redwater's got one more at the end of round 3. So I got to go back and see where we're at with this, but it looks like Norfolk is on the clock for the next pick.
Correct, yeah.
And it's once again, we're kind of seeing players come off here. Alex Dar, week 13. We do have some that I want to mention real quick that have been around the league for a little bit longer, which are still sitting on the draft board. Which what's your thoughts on some of those? If you don't have that, Evan, I can run down that list real quick.
Yeah, I don't have the full list, but I have a couple names. I mean, like T Thor, for example, is one of them. I think Mike Oxlong is on board.
Yeah,
He's been around for a while. It's got one of the more
yeah.
cunning names.
Jay Hill and Elijah Wheeler are still
Yeah,
sitting there. All and also Elijah East and Cam Creed. And so it's. I think that kind of goes along with what we're saying is there's a lot of factors that we as owners look at with this, and it's not a one size fits all, but we evaluate a lot of different factors as we're putting this draft board together, and even though the experts were pretty good for almost the whole first round, there's none of us that have the exact same two lists, and but I think the number one thing that we're all going to say is activity. How active are you? Are you around? Have you been around? Progressions, asking questions, that kind of stuff. And I think that's where we're starting to see some differences come in here. Um, and I think that's the one advice we would kind of throw out is make sure you're participating in what's going on. If you can't make the streams, that's okay. We get that. Some of you work in the evening. Sometimes life happens, but the more active you are, the more you want to be involved in what's going on, the more we want you to be involved in what's going on. And with that being said, Mike has made this selection for Norfolk. I'm going to go ahead and turn this one over to Evan and let you announce this one for us.
Yeah, so Norfolk with the 30th overall selection, round 3, pick 6. This is Sam Yeager. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It might be Jagger or something like that, but Sam Yeager going to Norfolk, the left winger. Yeah, I mean, another newer joinee. Seems active so far. Seems like a great addition for Norfolk here. Still a little bit surprised to see some of those other players you talked about, like Jay Hill, Oxlong, Thor, guys like that are still available. And I mean, going back to what you said, Cam Creed is another one that really surprises me. Even I mean, like last season, the way the draft went with all the team needs, it would have been he would have been a first round pick last season for sure. But now I don't know if teams just don't need as many defensive guys. But seeing him slide so far it's a bit of a surprise.
Well, and with that said, Jacksonville's already made their selection. It is center Bob Hunt, which puts Jacksonville on the. Is that no?
Florence on the clock.
Florence on the clock. Sorry about that. Looking at two places, got my notes wrong. So Florence is back on the clock again, looking to continue to fill that locker room up. Bob is one that I spoke to. He was one that I did have my eyes on, a playmaker out of Austin. He make sure I got joined in week 11, and 6 foot, 193-pound right-handed playmaker. Yeah, this is one that this is where we're seeing these archetypes come in. I mean, what type of player is it? And this is a huge conversation that I had with some owners in the off season is, can you take a player that is created as a certain archetype and change the way they play based off of their progressions? And that's one that I would love to dig a lot more into to get some information on. But I think the consensus we came to, and Evan, throw your experience in on this, is that archetype determines the way the player is going to react in certain situations. So even though you change the ratings, it's not going to necessarily change the way that player plays. Is that your take on it?
Yeah, and I mean, I've been playing the NHL video games for years now, and that's kind of always been my experience is that, like you can boost a player's shooting and stuff like that. And yeah, how good a player is at shooting or passing is going to impact how often he does those things and how successful he is. But ultimately, the archetype does have a large role in how he plays. And a good example of that, I remember back when I was in high school, I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was super into playing the NHL games, played franchise mode all the time. And he talked about taking Sidney Crosby because his favorite team was the Penguins. And he took Sidney Crosby, changed him from a playmaker to a sniper, edited his player, ran a sim of a season. He scored like 20 more goals than he did as a playmaker with no other difference to his attributes. His points skyrocketed, his goals skyrocketed just by changing his archetype and nothing else about him. So, I mean, obviously the game has evolved quite a bit since then. That was years ago now, but that's kind of like a good, I guess, example of how no matter what you do to your attributes, the archetype still does have a significant role in the type of player you are.
Yeah, and I think for people that are coming in and wanting to create players, that's something to look at, is making those kind of decisions of, yeah, we as owners can, through the advice we give on progressions, can have some influence on what happens, but the end result is going to be the type of player that you create, and that original setup that you choose. Um, have we got any of the owners here from Jacksonville in? I'm looking through the list.
Yeah, I
Is
think
Adam
Banks is
around?
here.
Yeah. What's your? I mean, Bob's one that I ain't gonna lie, I had my eyes on. What were kind of your thoughts with this?
Scurvy died in our staff channel, which just was going crazy about him. So that's where the pick came in. It was all Scurvy. He liked his conversation with him, so that's what we went with.
Well, and I think that brings up a good thing of reliance on our front office staff as team owners. And that plays a big part in it, because unfortunately we have jobs that people expect us to work and get paid for, unless y'all can figure out a way to pay us uh, for being owners here. But yeah, and no, unfortunately, we do this out of the goodness of our heart. Is that the good way? I could looked over and I could see Evan grinning there very big. On
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we do put in a lot of time here. We do rely on those staff members that we have to kind of lessen that load a little bit and just give us a little bit more of another opinion too, because like no matter how much you know about it and how much time and effort you put in, sometimes you just get a little too close to something. You just need kind of your GM or somebody else to kind of come in and say, hey, what do you think about this guy, or what do you think about that? And sometimes you overlook certain things. So it's always good to have those people to bounce ideas off of rather than trying to figure everything out in your own head between your own ears. So definitely a good thing that Jacksonville has a decent GM there to help out in Scurvy. And I know he was scouting a lot of the minors games too, so he knows what he's talking about with these guys.
And with that said, it looks like the Florida pick is in. I'm going to go ahead and let you
Florence.
take that one, or Florence. I'm sorry, and Florida is going to be on the clock next.
So Florence has selected left winger Chex Lemieux. That might be right. Yeah. So Florence again going with another forward there. We've got a left winger coming off the board. Obviously had needed quite a few forwards coming into the draft. So, yeah, a nice selection there with Chex, another newer joinee, but pretty active guy so far, I think. And I think he comes from maybe another sim league or two. I'm not too sure, but seems like an active participant so far. That's it.
Yeah, he's 6'2", 200-pound right-handed playmaker, and like you said, just joined in week 14, and he joined us from Philadelphia, um, and it's really kind of cool to me to see how we bring in people, just maybe not from all over themselves, but the players that they want to create are from all over. So I think that's pretty cool. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead, and it looks like the next selection is in. It is right wing Tom Edwards for Florida. Another new one here, and it looks like Tennessee, you are on the clock. Yes.
Yeah, so we
Feel like
are
when
having a
I'm
little.
saying that, I was going to say, feel like when I say that, I'm doing the NFL draft. Tennessee, you are on the clock.
Yeah, so yeah, with Tennessee going on the clock, there will be a little bit of a delay on this, but we are having a little bit of a difficulty with the draft board again, like we did earlier in the show. I typed in those last couple picks, and they're not showing on the stream. So Dave will take a look at that after he's done making his selection. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go back to kind of what you were talking about before, like possibly getting your wife involved as a co-owner or staff member or some sort of involvement like that. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have those people there to help out and help out in different ways. Like for example, my wife has gotten into making stickers, and she's made now stickers for all the teams in Gohls. So we will, if anybody wants, we can ship those to you guys. But I mean, anything you guys want to do, whether it's content creation, making merchandise, stuff like that, like there's so much that goes on in the back end of this league, and it's really great. Yeah, it's really great to see everybody kind of chipping in, and Squibs running the social media, and whoever runs the experts accounts doing all this draft content. So there's so much that goes into this league, and I don't know if it looks like Krieg's here now. Krieg, did you want to kind of hop on and talk about the league a little bit and how this draft has been going, and what you think about what everybody does for the league so far, and your thoughts kind of as commission and everything that you envisioned when you started this?
So what's going on, everybody? You guys can all hear me? I'm good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I like how the league is going for season 3. I mean, we definitely put a lot of effort into this to make it how it is now. A lot of people actually stepped up and helped me out a lot. Evan, Eric Davis, Doug Britton, Twin Screw, he helped out. Dave Access coming out of nowhere and putting this whole draft together really freaking helped out a lot too. Rose stepping up too. He's going to be a streamer this year. But yeah, so far so good for season 3 is definitely going a lot better than I was expecting when things came up. Heather is at work, Gunny. Heather is at work. But so far this draft has been going fairly smoothly. There's a couple of people that I see dropping that definitely wasn't expecting. But yeah, so far so good. Sorry for leaving earlier. I had to I actually just booked a cruise. That's what I was doing. I booked a cruise.
Awesome.
So
that's exciting.
And then I ate some dinner and then I'm back, you know. But you and Jess are doing a great freaking job here. And you guys can go back and take it away.
Awesome.
I'll be talking again here probably next pick, right? That's my pick, so I'll be back.
Yeah, you'll be back soon for sure. Yeah, and while Tennessee's still selecting, maybe do we want to get Trev if you're available? Did you want to talk about your pick of Gertie Adams and then Svechnikov and Edwards as well here in the 3rd round?
Sure. What's up, guys? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
All right. So glad to be here, everyone. Tonight was honestly a fun night, and going into the season, we had a major concern with our defense. Our team got hit horribly with Demora leaving mid-season and Franco going inactive towards the end. So with our 2 defensemen gone, we had a huge hole to fix, and I feel I lucked into 2 really solid defensemen. Obviously, Adams has a family tie to my assistant coach and GM, Mikey, and honestly, can't stress enough how happy I am to have those 2 together on my team. Mikey helped me out a whole bunch with coaching the team when I wasn't in a good position mentally to do so. So being able to not only pair the 2 up as family, but to also get a great defenseman on top of it, I couldn't have been any happier. Same thing with Svechnikov. honestly, on Special College is one of my favorite players in the NHL, so that kind of earned brownie points in my eyes. And honestly, I know some people in the owners' chats are going to give me hell for saying this. I feel I got a steal of the draft. I'm, I'm very happy with who I got, and the decision to trade up for Svechnikov not only gives me two solid players, but it fills arguably the biggest gap my roster had. And I have faith that those two will be active enough to progress the players and will be huge contributors for Florida moving forward.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, for all those watching or listening right now, the reason we laugh when he says steal of the draft is that's kind of Trev's line when we did the startup draft reveal show and then the live draft in season 2. I feel like he probably said that between the two drafts about 10, 15 times. So that's kind of his go-to line. But this time he obviously feels it. He's pretty happy with his selections, which you can't fault him there. So yeah, with that, Tennessee has made their pick. Would you like to announce that pick there, Jess?
Yeah, that is center Yayo Montana. Excuse me. Dave, I'm just going to go ahead and let you talk about this one because I talked to him, so I know the backstory with this one.
Well, Yayo Montana is my good friend Greg Soto from other leagues that I'm in. He's owner in other leagues. He's a coach in other leagues where we share teams in other leagues. We compete in some other leagues. He's a good friend of mine, and he came over to Gohls to join me, so I'm glad that he made it to where I wanted to draft him. He's going to be a personality, so everybody buckle up and hold on. He's a lot of fun, especially in the Gen Chats and talking trash and stuff like that. So we've got our Rob Blake, if you will, for Tennessee, except he's on the offensive side of the line. So he's going to be a lot of fun. So watch out, everybody. And there he is already. The Tennessee Black Bears select the Greg Soto. I'm out.
Yeah, I was going to just really kind of throw a monkey wrench into this whole thing, and when I got to my pick, if he was there, I was going to take him because I know Greg as well, and he's a hell of a guy. And I'm gonna steal the line here. That was really kind of for him to go that far down. That was a steal of the draft there, in my opinion.
Oh snap!
Just a super nice guy, and you got a good one there. With that being said, Alaska is now on the clock. So we're waiting their selection, and I know it's just kind of a recurring theme that we keep going back to, but the camaraderie that comes across these leagues is to me is just staggering. You see the same names that kind of pop up in this huge sim community, and it's quite a lot of fun to be a part of. So we've got Alaska, and then this is one I always have trouble saying, Redwater, with that last pick, and then we'll be moving into the 4th round where we just have according to my count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks left, and then we'll get to those affiliate rounds. Which, Evan, what are your thoughts as we're kind of winding this down and getting ready to move into those affiliate rounds?
Yeah, for sure. So, like as we get closer to the affiliate rounds, I actually just messaged my assistant GM there and asked him to kind of. I have some thoughts. I kind of took a look at the list of who's still available, and I asked him to take a quick peek as well. See as we start to kind of prepare for that. It was with our 3 picks in the 2nd round. It was kind of easy to predict what guys we were going to get there. We pretty much knew we were going to get Willis. We knew we were going to get one of our top couple of offensive defensemen and defensive defensemen. So we pretty much had our picks nailed down there, and we were thrilled to get Puck and Kane there. But now with the affiliates, it was a little harder to predict who was going to slide all the way through. And there's some great names on the board still, so I'm looking forward to it. And this is something we haven't done before. We haven't had minors players been affiliated with pro teams before, but we wanted to have them kind of have that pro locker room to kind of rely on, and a little bit of support that way, as well as just kind of having that draft experience, right? It's a little bit unfortunate sometimes when players have to go a full draft and then not be taken and have to wait another season to hear their name called. So we're excited to see how this affiliate program works out, but I'm excited to see which players we're able to get because there's a lot of really good and really talented names still on the board here as we get close to that portion of the draft.
And with that being said, we do have the selection in from Alaska. It's one of the
Just
okay.
yeah, we're just giving 1 second. We're just sorting out some technical
Oh, okay,
things with the
okay.
draft board
You
here.
know, and looking at the affiliates, I'll be honest with you, and I've got 4 pages of notes here, and 2 of them were just for the affiliate draft.
Yeah.
Just just as I'm watching the players come off and making adjustments with that, yeah, it's because we're kind of looking at our franchise page 2. You know, who do we think is going to stick around? Who do we think is going to be there if we need to call them up? Who do we think is going to be that piece that we need? And one of the things I keep seeing in chat in here in Twitch as I'm kind of watching that is about goalies. The reason you're not seeing goalies come off the board fast and furious is there's only 2 teams that need them, and so it doesn't make it as high a priority to get those as opposed to other players that everybody is going to need. So if you're wondering why we're still seeing um, goalies still sitting there, not any goalie names called, that's why. And I take it we're now good to go ahead with this. Okay, so with this, Alaska has made the selection. It's one of the names that we've been talking about, Evan. Right defenseman Cam Creed is now off the board. He is going to be going to Alaska, and that means Redwater is back on the clock.
Yeah, and on the Creed selection, that is a fantastic pick for Alaska. And I mean, I was kind of joking about this during the minors season when I was commentating, but this is going to be, now that they're on the same team, having Creed and Krieg on the same roster is going to be a nightmare for whoever's commentating these games this season. And obviously, it's a great pick this late. A really talented guy. We almost took him at 202, but we took Pauk there, and we're happy with that. But to see Creed fall this far beyond that is a little bit surprising. And I mean, I think it shows you how good of a pick it is when at least 4 teams have put the middle finger emoji on that post of Krieg making that pick. So
well,
it's a
I
great
mean,
selection for Alaska.
yeah, looking at this, he joined in week 5. He's a 6'4", 220 left-handed defensive D-man. I mean, it's and looking at his as we said, overall is not everything, but just doing a quick scan of that, he's one of the highest rated defenders, if not the second highest that we have. Yeah, in the draft pool this time. So for him to drop all the way down to the 3rd pick, that's a kind of a surprise there. With that being said, Redwater has made their selection, and let me look at my notes here. It is Elijah Wheeler. I know he's a left wing. He's another one of our international players. He's from Brisbane, Australia, and he actually is from Australia. I talked to Elijah, and he told me that he apologized for the delay in getting back to me for some stuff because of the international time difference. So that finishes the 3rd round for us. And if my notes are correct, we now have Florence on the clock. Is that
right?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing there as well. So Florence, you are on the clock. This is going to take us into the 4th round. What are your thoughts on that Elijah Wheeler pick? I mean, he dropped quite a bit. He was created in the 5th week. So power forward, 6'3", 206, left-hander. So what are your thoughts on that selection there?
Yeah, like power forwards are kind of sought after here in the league, and There's not too many of them, so when they do come up, they are kind of a high priority for some people, especially on the penalty kill. It's really helpful, but I think the reason Wheeler fell a little bit is he did miss some progressions there mid-season, so Redwater's kind of taking a chance here on getting him back active, but obviously that time difference could be something to sort out there, so it could just be a scheduling thing, and I'm sure being in a pro locker room always helps activity and kind of gets you more involved in the minors, which is a little bit quieter, so it'd be interesting to see how he does there. And you kind of mentioned Australia there, how he actually lives in Australia. Little fun fact here. I know Jess has all the facts, but I've got one here. Organizing the World Cup rosters is the third most common country of origin for players in the league is Australia, which is kind of weird for a hockey league. Seeing that Australia doesn't have a whole lot of pro hockey players coming from there, so. In our league, they do have the third most players. It's not tons; it's like 5 or 6 now, with some of the new prospects being from there. But it's more than Russia, it's more than Finland, it's more than Sweden, places like that. So it goes to U.S., Canada, and then a big drop off. But Australia is third most, which is kind of interesting in itself.
Well, and with that said, Florence has made their pick. We've got center Spencer Kisling. Let's come off the board and looking at my notes here. Joined in week 12, two-way forward, 5'11", 195, right-handed player. And he is from Buffalo, New York. Another one of these new guys that are coming in and going to be making a statement. With that said, that Tennessee, the Black Bears, are now back on the clock. What are your thoughts on this Spencer Kisling signing, if I got that name right?
Yeah, that's one I kind of expected to see a little bit sooner, but being a new player, it doesn't surprise me that he fell this far. With some of the players having more progression than he did, so seeing him fall this far isn't too surprising given how late he joined. But he seems active, seems positive, and I think he's going to be a great addition here for Florence this late. I wanted to take this chance though while Dave is working on getting his pick made. I know he's busy for us behind the scenes, so we'll give him his time. I want to talk to Krieg if he's still available and get his thoughts on one, the kind of getting Cam Creed this late, if he expected that, how he's feeling about the selection, and if he's excited to call his own games as a commentator and get those names mixed up.
Steal of the draft.
Might apply here for sure.
No. So I'm getting some words that Dave said that he might have picked him, but I doubt it. He just wanted to say he had to steal a draft. No, I actually reached out to Cam just before this pick and said, "Yo, you want to be Alaska? I didn't think you would drop this far," and he said he didn't think so either. And I was like, "Well,
Right.
Here you go. You're about to join the one of the finalists in the Cup last year. We lost Turcolino to Twin Screw. He was also a 64 overall, I do believe. So we didn't lose any overall. I'm just hoping to plug him in, and we'll continue the grind."
Yeah, I mean, that's a great selection for you guys that late. I mean, like I said, I considered him at the top of the second there, and to see him fall all the way to the end of the third makes me wonder if trading back, I might have still gotten Pac or Creed that late. That's a little bit crazy to think about, but yeah, great selection. Um, are you excited for butchering those names when you commentate these games next season, Creed?
Well, I mean, I'm a terrible commentator anyway, so I mumble most of the time. So when I say Creed, they're just gonna roll with the flow.
Fair enough. Awesome. Yeah, so
See you guys in a
Tennessee's kind
minute
of
when my next pick comes up.
it's true, yeah. Yeah, so we've got the second pick of the fourth round here. Tennessee's on the clock. What direction do you think they're going to go here, Jess?
Well, there's part of me that says they're going to go goalie here. It's according to what kind of their thoughts are. I know Vegas needs one with the next pick, and I think if there's somebody that Tennessee wants, then that's the route they're going to go. If they think that their guy's going to be there, and the numbers are in their advantage. I mean, there's 4 goalies available, only 2 spots. So I think those numbers are right. But we have more goalies than we have spots available. So, if you don't have your heart set on one over the other, and there's another player you want, then that's the route they're going to go. But if there's somebody as far as the goalie that they really want, that this is the time they have to do it, because Vegas has 1 pick left. Vegas needs a goalie. They lost Twin Screw when he got the Norfolk expansion team. So we know the very next pick is going to be after Tennessee is going to be the goalie. So they either pull the trigger now and get the goalie they want, or they've got one of 2 that they're happy to take, and they're going to let Vegas get first choice on it. Looking at the goalies, and it's not somebody I paid a lot of attention to. I did reach out to some of them. It's what do you want? And I just think that's the one player that's on the ice the most. And if you get that one wrong, you really get that one wrong. But it's also the one that we can take the biggest risk with. So I think last season there was a lot of hype in the first round with getting goalies. This time, okay, I think we're ready to see which ways you're going to go with this. And holy shit! I
Jess,
think
I'm gonna let you announce that pick.
Well, I'll be damned. There is a story behind this pick. My daughter, who just recently got married, back
Congratulations.
in September, and they just actually bought their first house, joined the league, but to carry on the tradition of the Boudreaux, she chose the name Osiris Boudreaux with the nickname of Ozzy, because if you haven't kind of noticed, we're by my hair length, my family is kind of heavy metal freaks. And with the 4th selection of the 4th round, the Tennessee Black Bears have selected Osiris Ozzy Boudreaux. So at least we will not have 3 Boudreaux on the Glasgow Black Watch. At least this isn't my wife, though. She doesn't live with me, so I don't have to deal with that. Dave, when Dave, when was it you said your wife's joining?
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
I said, when was it you said your wife's joining the league?
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
Well, this is a perfect time for my mic to cut out then, right?
Yeah. So we'll quickly pivot over here now. As Jess alluded to, Vegas had to take a goalie with their next selection after losing Twin Screw. I think the only reason he waited so long is because he knew only 2 teams needed a goalie, and I think both were pretty much sold on their guys coming into this draft, which would explain why Tennessee also went with Ozzy Boudreaux there instead of grabbing a goalie ahead of Vegas. And Las Vegas Sinners have selected goaltender Mason Stonewall, the only player to have every progression last season. He was in the draft the year before, did not get chosen, or he might have joined right after the draft, I can't recall, but he spent the whole season in the minors, played with Winnipeg. Started out the season a little bit rough for him, but as he progressed, he became clearly a very talented goalie, and I think Vegas is going to really enjoy having him coming in and trying to fill the shoes of Twin Screw, which is not going to be an easy task for anybody. Albuquerque is on. Well, this is an extra pick now, I believe, right? Okay, let's. Hey, Doug, are you around? Is that an extra pick? You don't have to talk. You can. I know you don't like to talk. You can just shoot me a message. Is that an extra pick still,
It's
or
an
do they
extra
need to
pick. He said he's not trading it, so he's getting the first affiliate pick.
Okay, so that is. Thanks for filling in there, Rose. That is Alaska now moving on the clock, and Albuquerque does not need to make that selection. They will make the first pick of the 6th round instead. So Alaska is on the clock here. We got our commissioner, Tom Krieg. It's his turn to make his pick, and we'll see what he does.
Has my mic started working yet?
Yeah, your camera's a little fuzzy, but
it did that a little while earlier, and I'm not sure what's going on with it. I think that's probably my daughter giving me the hex from
she's
her
hacking your
not being
computer
on my.
system.
I mean,
for
this
not
this
taking
is the second draft in a row. I mean, it's kind of like I'm not going to tell y'all if I have any other family members join this thing. I mean,
I would make a completely different name and change
yeah,
it later.
I'm just going to keep my eyes open. And Dave, what was that you said about your wife joining? But
I told her I already told her I quit the league.
But that's what I think is so cool about this league is we get to have fun with stuff like that. I mean, it's and she really doesn't care. When I talk to her today when she was over
and
here at the
speaking
house.
of family, we got another one. Alaska has made their pick. Oh,
there we go.
I think we All right, we got a bit of a delay there, I think. But what I was saying there is we have, speaking of family, we have Alaska's pick, and Tom Krieg, our commissioner, has selected T. Thor, right winger, played for Brandon in the minors. As Krieg has pointed out, that is the second father-son combo on a team in this league that we love. I believe in Tennessee there is father-son combo still as well. And that puts Tennessee on the clock to select their goaltender, and then we will get into the affiliate picks.
I'm going to see if recycling my camera will get that. There we go. Yeah, you get to see my ugly bald head again. Yeah, but I think that's the thing that's really cool about this league is the fact that we get to bring all these different experiences to what happens, and and the cool thing about it, last season and this season as well, if I raised holy hell, I'm sure that we could work something out with my family members and stuff. But that's what I love about it. It just yeah, I'm just gonna make sure she's not around here when I tell her. I'll send her a text message, and I tell her she has to do the dishes for a change when she comes over. But no, I think I honestly do, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But it's I think it's really cool. It uh, just shows how this league is what it is, and it. And yeah, with that said, we've got the pick in from Tennessee. And Evan, I'm going to let you do the honors on this one because I let my wife try to say this one. And like I said, when she messes up, forget it.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd take a stab at this, but I'll take a run at it. So with the only pick of the 5th round, we have goaltender going to Tennessee, and his name is Charlie O'Doherty. I hope I didn't butcher that too badly. But we'll just call him Charlie O for our purposes. And he will be the goaltender between the pipes for Tennessee to kick off season 3. And he's one of the later joinees, but I know he's got ties to ownership there in Tennessee. And I think let's have Dave come on and chat about that while we queue up the affiliate picks. If you want to talk about your pick of Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was going to be my goalie all along. I knew Doug was the only person that could take him, but Doug wanted somebody else, so it worked out easy. This is my really good friend, Charles Doherty, owner in another league and teammate in some other leagues as well, just like Greg Soto was. So, when I came on board about a week and a half ago, to take over this Tennessee team. I wanted to bring some people over with me, surround myself with people that I know, that I trust, to help build this thing. Charles, Greg, Chad, Ray, they all fall in that category. So I've got my peeps. We already had a great locker room here. We're drafting some great other people. So we're ready to rock and roll in Tennessee and put the league on notice.
Awesome. Yeah. So obviously adding a goaltender is huge here. So I guess let's get the clock reset here with Albuquerque on the clock with the first pick of the 6th round. So I'll just quickly remind everybody. Some of you might not have been here or might forget what I explained kind of off the top or near the beginning of the show. Now that we are into the 6th round, all of our pro rosters are full. And we are picking affiliate players. So this is something we haven't done before. We're grabbing guys who are going to play in the minors, but be affiliated with us. They'll be in our locker rooms. They'll be basically, we're owning their rights, similar to players playing in the AHL for their NHL clubs. So they're affiliated with us. They'll be playing in the minors, but they will be getting the first chance at a call up, provided somebody leaves the league and or other things go wrong and we have some sort of opening on our roster. These players who are affiliated with us will get the first chance to be called up and join us. So Albuquerque's on the clock. Each team can only select one forward and one defenseman. We have 2 rounds. You can't go 2D or 2 forwards, any of that. So each team will be picking one of each, and we'll see what Albuquerque does here with the start of their pick. I believe Doug worked out the numbers, so we do have 10 forwards, 12 and 12. 12 forwards, 12 defensemen for these affiliate picks. And other than that, the drafting rules are pretty much the same, 5 minutes a pick, and we're kind of going down the order in order of finish last season. And Albuquerque gets the first pick because they did have an extra pick at the end of the draft. So let's see what they do here.
And with that said, their pick is in, so we're going to go ahead and rock and roll with this. Florence, you are going to be on the clock. They have, and Albuquerque has selected a right defenseman, Elijah East. And this was one I was really kind of shocked it was on the board, to be honest. Joined in week 5. He's an enforcer, 6'9", 250, big fella. Right-handed player. But if you want somebody that's going to be physical, somebody that's 6'9", 250 is definitely going to be someone that you're going to be on the lookouts for. What are your thoughts on this pick, Evan?
Yeah, this is somebody that I'm a little bit surprised made it to the affiliate rounds, to be honest with you. He's been around for a while, if I'm not mistaken. I think he played for Brandon in the minors. That team had some struggles early when they didn't have a whole lot of human players. They joined late because we expanded a little bit bigger than we expected the minors to, and it was a bit rough at the beginning, but towards the end, that team, I mean, they made the final. They almost forced a deciding game 5 against Red Deer, but they ended up kind of collapsing in the last minute or so of game 4 in the final. But I mean, Elijah East is a big physical body. If somebody on Albuquerque's blue line disappears or has to leave the league, East is going to be a great player to fill in, and it's going to be really threatening to go up against, I think.
Well, and I think this idea where we were allowed to pick one forward and one defensive player is really going to be where we kind of look at who we think is going to fit in to our locker room, because I cannot say again, or say enough times, these players are going to be in our locker rooms. They're going to be in our clubhouses as if I select them for the Black Watch. So they're going to be a part of this organization, and I think that's really going to be a positive for us moving forward. With that said, Florence has made their selection. Right defenseman Kirby Chambers is off the board, and I'm up next. So I got to back up and regroup and send Dave hate mail. And I'm kidding, Dave. So let me figure out what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to turn this one over to you, Evan.
Yeah, this Florence pick here with Kirby, I just sent their owner Squibs a little bit of a nasty message, but yeah, that was kind of who I was hoping we'd get. But I mean, dropping another 6 picks was probably a bit of wishful thinking. Kirby, it's a new player, but it's a defensive defenseman, which, as I've kind of mentioned a few times, is really valued in this league and something that we really need in Turku here to kind of help boost our defense. So I was a little bit surprised to see Kirby last till the affiliates and Creed last until Alaska selected him so late in the draft. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see when these affiliates get into the lineup. Um, who really knows when somebody's going to leave? Obviously, every season we have some of those, and it's really hard to tell which teams are going to have more opportunities or more players leave. It's impossible to tell. I thought we'd be pretty set last season, but we lost a couple guys after week 2. So you never know when these opportunities will come up, but these players being in the affiliates is going to be really good for them to be part of the pro locker room and see kind of get to know the team a little bit so that when they make that jump, you don't have to get to know everybody and watch yourself on the ice. And like at least you have a team to kind of watch and support and get some help from it. Like all these new players might need some help with progression, so it's going to be important being in those locker rooms. And with that, Jess has submitted his pick. I will let you announce that for yourself there, Jess, in Glasgow.
Yeah, I selected right defensive player Jason Hart, an offensive D man, 6 foot 211 right hander. My thoughts were coming into this versatility and the defense, and that's why I mean, not just because Ozzy was my daughter, but she created a two-way player, which if you look at the roster we have in Glasgow, we have a lot of two-way players. That's the team that we're building and we're molding. But we're also wanting to make sure that we have a good offensive balance on the backside as well. So we've got Mark Martin, our head coach, is doing a great job for us. He's an offensive D-man, and if the opportunity arises, I'd like to have one that we've worked with and kind of help develop to move in and pair up on those defensive pairings and give us a little bit more of a striking power there. With that said, Tennessee is on the clock now. And I think it's interesting. I knew what my plan was going into this, but we've got the first 3 picks. Now we've seen a shift back to 3 defenders. What are your thoughts on that, Evan?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of touch on that too before you even mentioned it. It's kind of interesting to see, like, if you look at the first round, I mean, a couple hours ago, whenever that started, this was very forward heavy, and I think that was driven by team need. Because unlike the real NHL, you're drafting guys to play now. In this draft, you need guys to play right away. But now that we're picking guys in the affiliate picks, we have a couple of basically you're going back to teams picking for scarcity versus need, right? So if a team came into the draft only needing one defenseman, you could expect them to pick forwards first and grab that defender a little bit later when they have that chance. But now that they're picking for the future and not knowing what they're going to need, it makes sense to load up on these great defensemen and there's a lot of talented defenders here on the board. So I think it makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised to see the first affiliate around here go 12 for 12 defensively or 10 for 12 or something like that.
Well, and I think if we look at the way players are created, it kind of follows that. The concern we had leading up to the draft was we were going to have enough defensive players to be able to do a double affiliate round. It's kind of human nature. People want to be on the highlight reels, and where do the highlight reels happen? They happen with the forwards scoring the goals. You don't necessarily see a highlight reel with a defender making a good shot block, and so I think that's where we kind of see this come into it. Um, and with that said, once again, we're keeping with this pace. You have um, another defender coming off the board with Tennessee, and um, left defensive Armaj
Amraj.
Dimko. Is that it? Armaj? Okay, we'll go with Armaj Dimko, excuse me. Week 13 joinee, a 6'7". 6'7". He's one of these big fellas. 235 enforcer. We have a saying with now this should be Norfolk on the clock next because I did mine. Oh, Redwater, excuse me. I'm jumping. Yeah. We've got our fair share of enforcers in Glasgow/Carolina, and I had a saying that if we couldn't hurt them, we were going to hurt them, and this is a guy that's going to hurt them. And with that said, I took that one. Evan, I'm going to let you go ahead with the pick for Redwater, and Norfolk, you're going to be on the clock.
Yeah, so Redwater, this pick, if I'm not mistaken, was somebody who joined actually last night or early today after the deadline, but because we were two defensemen short specifically for 2 full affiliate rounds, we let those last 2 join the part of the draft, and this is Kevin Pickard, right defenseman, going to Redwater.
And
Norfolk is now on the clock.
Well, Norfolk
Oh,
has
and they
already
picked
got
already.
their pick in. Yeah, so we're going to put Jacksonville on the clock. You know, I think me and Mike must be like on the same wavelength here because that was the forward I wanted, Guido Hammer, right wing. I think Mike got him a good one there. I had a lot of conversations with Guido, real nice young man. Guido joined in week 11, a sniper, 5'10", 205 left-hander, and just a real nice guy. I mean, that's about all I can really say, just in the conversations I've had with him. And Jacksonville has got their pick. I'm going to go ahead and let you go on this one, Evan. I got to update my board here.
Yeah, these picks are coming in hot and heavy here. We've got Jacksonville. They mentioned earlier that they were going offensive defenseman earlier when they took Sylvester, I believe it was, to kind of emulate what they did with the Butcher, RG Robert Garrett Jr. last season. This time they take another offensive defenseman in right defenseman David Cole. So now, as Jess updates his board, and I have to have a quick chat with my AGM here, I'm going to see if maybe Krieg wants to hop on here and talk a little bit about drafting his father and what that dynamic's going to be like this coming season.
Yeah, so drafted my dad because, father-son thing, but somebody that lives right down the street from me, so I can easily just go in there, annoy the hell out of him until he progresses or whatever. Until he disowns me or kicks me out the house, whatever, whichever comes first. But I was definitely surprised that he fell that far. I told everybody I don't care if you guys draft him or not. So, for him to fall that far, I'll take it. Definitely will take it.
Yeah, and he was somebody I was looking at too in that second round when I needed to pick my forward, but I only had 1 forward roster spot, and I know Willis has ties to Hume here, so I was looking for that kind of friendship connection, and I was very surprised to see Thor drop all the way. So I think with Alaska being able to grab Creed and Thor that late, it's they might be the winners of this draft, not having a pick until late in the 3rd round and still coming away with those 2 guys. That's incredible to me.
Yeah, man, I'm ready to see what these the Gohls experts have to say with their write-ups for the draft.
And with that
that's true.
go ahead and make your pick there, Evan, and we'll rock with this.
Yeah, so we just selected left defenseman Dime Hardaway. He's going to be coming to Turku as an affiliate, so we'll see which the minor teams haven't been announced yet. We'll see which one he's assigned to, but Dime Hardaway is going to be our pick. We're thrilled to get him here. We think he's going to be a good contributor if and when we do have a need come up on the blue line here. And with that, the Florida Challengers are going on.
Well, and just like what we were talking about, out of the first 8 picks, 7 of them have been defenders coming in this affiliate round. So I think that kind of shows as owners, we're looking at players, we're looking at cycles, and looking at my roster. The only one I lost was a defensive player. And so that's the only replacement I needed to make through the season. And with that pick in, Florida is just keeping us here cooking with gas, as the saying used to be. They have selected left defensive player Travis Arthur, and that puts Dublin on the clock. Travis was one that just kind of got started or brought back last night. I don't think I have. Yep, he was another enforcer, 6'4", 235. Looks like that's a lot of the defensive players left. Carl Naylor, enforcer. Mario Bolt, enforcer. Alistair Lee, two-way. And Adelaide Landry, two-way. So we've got 2 enforcers, 2 two-way defensive players left on the board. And I think when we're looking at this, enforcer, offensive D-man was the big one that came off. Doing a quick count here, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the ones that we've had taken already were offensive D-men. So as we're waiting on Dublin has got their pick in. That is center Dom Cruz. That was another one that I had my eye on. I'm going to go ahead and let you talk there for just a second, Evan. Alaska, you are on the clock.
Yeah, so while Alaska gets ready to make a pick, again, there's some great value here again, and Creek just keep coming away with steals here. But Dom Cruz, I think, is somebody who was hoping to go a little bit earlier. And he probably deserves to. He's very active, but this is just going to be a chip on his shoulder. I know Dublin was high on him before. Probably just didn't have the roster space to grab him in the earlier rounds. So I'm not too surprised to see him fall here, unfortunately, for him. But his activity level should have had him go a little bit higher. So I'm hoping that for his sake that he's able to kind of take that chip and just kind of push forward, improve all of us, and take him, and I hope he enjoys his time in the Dublin locker room there. Let's see. Is Rose available? Did you want to maybe talk quickly on that Cruz pick?
Yeah. Really, Dom Cruz was someone we were thinking about getting in the first round. Conversation wise, we really liked him. The build, the 2-way forward, we liked the build, but just in terms of overall and progressions at that point, we had to put a couple other players ahead of him, just because we are competing and we do need the progressions for our players. But I mean, the fact that we got Dom Cruz now, I'm super happy about. We really do love Dom Cruz, and we hope he's playing in the pros soon.
Yeah, it's as we're looking at this and putting this all together. I mean, and if you're watching, I'm sitting here. I haven't been able to kind of watch Evan, but I will tell you this: I am constantly having to go in and update because these guys that I had highly rated, I mean, they're going, and we would expect them to, and we just got just here 2 of them right together. Alaska has selected left wing Mike Oxlong. And Evan, I'm going to go ahead and let you, because Vegas has already got theirs in. So we'll go ahead and rock with that.
Yeah, Vegas has gone ahead and chosen right defenseman Alistair Lee. So now I'm just going to do a quick recap here of the first affiliates here. And Elijah East, Kirby Chambers, Jason Hart, Amraj Danko, Kevin Pickard, right away, 5 defensemen off the board. And then after that, Norfolk goes Guido Hammer. Then Jacksonville goes back to the defense as David Cole. Turku takes Dime Hardaway, Florida with Travis Arthur. And then a couple of forwards. Dom Cruz going to Dublin, Alaska to take Mike Oxlong, with Vegas selecting Alistair Lee. So with that, now obviously any team that took a defenseman, so that's Albuquerque, Florence, Glasgow, Redwater, Jacksonville, Turku, Florida, and Vegas will have to select a forward here in round 7. Any team selecting a forward in round 6, which is Norfolk, Dublin, and Alaska, I believe it's just the 3 of them, will need to select a defenseman in round 7. And Florida is not, or sorry, Florence is now on the clock here, and we'll see how which direction they go. Obviously, they need to take a forward. There's some good ones still on the board, so I'm excited to see which direction they head.
Yeah, these next 2 picks are going to have a huge impact on me because I got to go forward as well. I've got to go forward. Florence has got to go forward, and Albuquerque all have to go forward. So, yeah, in this scenario, it really involves a lot of close monitoring, I think, is a good phrase to use, of the draft board and the players that are left there. And it once again, and all of those moving pieces behind the scenes, and this is where y'all can get involved. If you want to be involved in coaching, if you want to be involved as an assistant GM, any of that kind of stuff, reach out to your owners, reach out to your general managers and say, hey, I'm interested in doing this because Evan said this earlier, and I'll kind of back up that. The more eyes that you have looking at something, I think the better it makes it and the easier it makes us as owners to make those kind of decisions. And with that, me saying that, it looks like Florence has made their selection. They're going with right wing Benji Idaho. Another guy that I spoke quite a bit with, wish we could have got him on the Glasgow team. Albuquerque, you're now on the clock as well. This is the thing that I think people kind of miss out on, is they think, oh, I'm not an owner, I'm not a coach, I'm not a head coach, I'm not a GM, I can't do this stuff. We can create stuff for people that want to get involved. That's not a problem. So if you're interested in that, by all means, have those conversations. And I got to point this out, Evan, you're making me look bad. I mean, you're sitting there with your tie on and your nice button-down shirt, and I'm hitting my my T-shirt. But I firmly believe that ties are implements of torture. Just my personal take on this. They are in violation of the Geneva Convention, and me being a veteran, I'm a very firm believer in. So I won't even wear ties to teach. I think the last time I wore one was I don't know, like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I just I don't like wearing them. So Albuquerque's pick is in. Left wing Enrique Price. And Kamenev, you owe me on that one. So give me just a second, because I now got to go back and regroup again. Yeah, plenty of time, right?
Shit. Can you hear me? Evan? Okay, perfect. My internet, I think, cut out for half a second there or something. But yeah, while Jess kind of thinks about who he's going to take at this pick as he goes on the clock, I'll kind of respond to his tie comment there. I actually put this out to just a couple of the owners I happened to be DMing with last night, and kind of gave them the options. Do I wear a hoodie, a shirt, or tie? And they all kind of said I should go with the tie. So I figured I'd dress up for the occasion, and yeah, so. I don't wear a tie to work or anything like that too often. I do. I wore one a couple weeks ago to our holiday party, and I'll be wearing one another couple days for another holiday party. We have two companies that my company owns, so two separate parties. So yeah, they voted for the tie, so I figured I'd honor them and see. But yeah, this price pick from Albuquerque, it's a newer player. Haven't talked to him too much. Enrique Price. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, with all these affiliate picks, it's hard to know who's going to be having openings. I mean, you might get a steal of a pick here at the end of the last round, but I mean, you might not have an opening all season for up front, so it might not. Hopefully, these guys can get in the pros soon. Hopefully, we don't have too much turnover, but you also want to see these guys get a chance. Oh, while we do that. Oh, yeah, you can hear me?
Okay, with that one, I'm going to go ahead and had an interesting conversation with this guy today. So, with our forward selection, Glasgow Black Watch has selected Murgatroyd Skittle, and anybody that has Skittles in their name has to be kind of high on my board to begin with. But the conversation was very thought provoking. Ketchup on hot dogs, yes or no? And yeah, I said yes with certain exceptions, and she's like, well, I don't know if I can join a team that has ketchup on hot dogs. I said, well, I prefer chili and onions. So I passed the test at that point, and I got to tell you, that's it made me laugh, and I think sometimes that's what we need. In Tennessee, you're on the clock, so Dave. I'm going to tell you, yeah, you only actually have a minute and a half. So we took a vote and it was unanimous. Why is it whenever I'm saying something like it, Dave says, "You're breaking up. I can't hear you." You know,
He
I,
just
I
doesn't
think,
like what you have to say, I guess.
yeah, I think I'm starting to see a pattern here. But between Skittles and hot dogs, we're doing pretty good there. I got in a huge debate on one of the shows that I did talking about pineapple on pizza, and that turned into a huge issue. I didn't think it would. My son-in-law swears by the stuff. I can't do it, but I can
No?
do the chili
Yeah.
dog. So, um,
I used to not be a pineapple on pizza guy myself, but I used to work at Domino's Pizza here in Winnipeg, and um, one day I was pretty hungry and I didn't want to buy a pizza, but there was a mistake that was sitting in the back, and the only option was Hawaiian. So I was like, you know what? I'm super hungry. I'm just gonna dive into this thing. And since then, I have to say it has been my favorite pizza. I think my go-to is the ham and
really,
pineapple now. Yeah.
well,
So it's uh, yeah, it's incredible. Like I went from not touching the stuff to having that one. I was like, this isn't so bad. And since then, I just kind of kept going and going, and now it's kind of my go-to.
wow, I mean, whenever he comes over, he's this big around, and he eats a whole pizza himself. And we got Domino's the other day. I don't know if they have this in Canada, but they've started doing these dip things with apple, and they do an apple dip with a cinnamon twist. It's pizza dough with cinnamon and sugar on it, and then one that's cheese, and it's, oh my God, I got those things. And he's sitting there eating the pizza, and I just wanted to have a spoon eating the dips. I mean, those things were unreal. Um, but yeah, he'll sit there, and every time we get a pizza, we order pizza. He always gets one for himself that's ham and pineapple, and I'm like, just like, and see, we've started a huge debate. I don't know if you're following the chat going on in Twitch, but there's this huge
A
argument
little
going
bit.
on about hot dogs and how do you do them, mustard, ketchup, chili. My wife is a huge fan of coleslaw on hot dogs. I can't have it because I can't eat coleslaw. So that's a story for another
Oh,
class period. Um,
I see
but
that Squibs thinks I need to be demoted over my pineapple take. So yeah, yeah, no kidding.
Well, if
Yeah,
if you're
so
just
let's
hungry, you can kind of say, yeah, well, at least it was just because you were hungry. But I can't, that's just one that I can't. I don't know if it's something I can do. So, but
2 minutes
we
left
we got
on the clock.
you got plenty of time, Dave. If not, we can just make a selection for you. I'm sure I can come up with a name or two.
Why do you have another family member for me?
No, Dave, I don't have it. I almost talked my son-in-law into joining. I'm really glad I didn't because you'd probably draft him too. You know. Well, no, it's just. But you got a minute and a half, so we're just charcoal dog. Man, I'm seeing charcoal dogs in there. You know, it's funny how something that just something that simple. What condiments do you put on a hot dog or what do you put on pizza? How it turns into such a heated discussion. Is that a good way to phrase it? Um,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, but I
Well,
will tell
looking
you
at
this is it.
my oh,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if that was me or not. It's funny how it was. We're winding down here. We've got uh, what 9 picks left. Um, ha- I don't know about y'all, but I enjoy doing these things. I mean, I guess maybe it's a teacher, and I'm used to just talking away and not sure if anybody is listening. But I did this kind of at the last minute last season, and I've just really enjoyed doing it again. And I've enjoyed Evan is my co-host. Okay, so now we do have the pick in from Tennessee. Um, it is center Alexander Fisherov. So you gotta you gotta love the name though. I mean, Alexander Fisherov. I don't know anything about. I gotta tell you, folks. I've watched hockey off and on over the years, not religiously, and I've really kind of gotten into it. Well, obviously a lot since I took over this team. So I've been talking a lot, Evan. I'm going to turn this one over to you.
Yeah, hopefully my internet doesn't break me up too much here for the rest of this draft. But with Redwater on the clock, they have already selected their pick. So we are going to go ahead and enter in Jay Hill, right winger. That's a guy I am honestly a little more than a little bit surprised to see that he's lasted till the middle of the 7th round. He's been around for a while. He played for Brandon last season. Um, yeah, great to see.
Yeah, yeah. With that,
What the
Norfolk is
heck?
on the clock, and I think I'm agree with Evan. The CJ sitting there. One of the things that I want to also kind of throw out, and with that said, we're going to go ahead and get through this pick. Twin Screw has made his selection. Left defenseman Carl Naylor, so that puts Jacksonville on the clock. Um, One of the things, and I mentioned this in uh, Gen Chat, and I just kind of want to throw it out there to anybody that might be listening that wants to or is considering joining the league or having people that they know are going to join the league. Respond to owners. Even when we send you a DM, if you're not sure who we are, go back and look. If I say, "Hey, I'm the owner of the Glasgow Black Watch," blah blah blah, and then I go into my spiel. Even if your response to me is, "I'm not interested," have the common courtesy to respond. Because I tell you, as we're getting down into these later parts of the draft, I know I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not going to draft somebody I haven't talked to. So if I haven't heard back from you for whatever reason, you know, maybe you don't like the name of my team. I don't know. I'm not going to bring somebody in that's going to be disruptive in my clubhouse. And I know different owners approach this differently, but it helps an awful lot if you respond to us and tell us, like I had some people say, "Hey, I've already made a commitment to another team. Hey, I've got a friend on another team." To give us the chance to respect that. But just to not respond to us, that's a huge red flag, at least for me. and I'm going to put you at the bottom of my draft board just because I don't know why you're not responding. What's your take on that, Evan?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like if I reach out to you, I would love to hear back from you, even if it's like I mean, last season there was a lot of this where it's sorry, I want to play for so and so because of X reason, whatever. I mean whatever the reason is, even just letting us know is great. Like last season I had 85 prospects. I reached out to 76 and 10 of them told me, or sorry, 76 of them responded out of the 85 I reached out to, and 10 of them told me please don't draft me. And I respect that. Like if you have a reason for that, that's all good. But just not responding is kind of a red flag, like Jeff mentioned. And you never know, you might need to find a team in free agency later, and we might remember that you didn't respond. And this time I reached out to 67 prospects, 58 replied. So again, not a terrible response rate. Only 3 of them basically told me they wanted to play for someone else. And just hearing back from prospects is very important to me, and I think most of us just want to hear that activity.
Well, with that said, we got Jacksonville's selection in, which is going to put you on the clock, Evan. So I'm going to let you go deal with that. They have selected right wing Nikita Samarov. It's and there's nothing that says you can't reach out to us. I actually had a couple of players that joined in the last few days that sent me DMs and said, "Hey, are you looking for this? Hey, are you interested in that?" It doesn't hurt to have those conversations. We're not. I can't say 100%. I'm speaking for all the owners, but I'm pretty sure I can say that our response is not going to be, "Well, why the hell are you bothering me?" Because we want people that want to be on our teams. We want people that are interested in joining our organizations. And I think now that we're not specific NHL teams may help with that because you may say, well, I don't like this NHL team, so I'm not going to play with them. But it helps us as we're putting together this draft board. If you would take and look at, I've got 5 pages of notes here, but I've got another 4 pages of notes underneath it, plus all the notes on my computer. It's a process we go through. We don't want to screw up. We don't want to bring in a bad apple. We don't want to bring in somebody that doesn't want to be there. We don't want to bring in somebody that's not going to be a fit for the organization and the team philosophy that we're trying to put together. And so have those conversations with us. You saw some people that were drafted pretty high up that just recently joined. Why? Because of how active they were. We want people that are going to be in the Twitch streams supporting the team as they're playing, good, bad, or indifferent, because all of us hit bad patches. Even Vegas, who ended up winning the Gretzky Cup, had a bad patch, and we want to know how you're going to deal with that. And it's easy when everybody's winning. It's a little bit harder when the team's struggling a little bit. So, yeah, give me respect. I deserve it. I think we all do, not just me, but all the owners, everybody involved in this league, all the streamers, all the players, because the commitment that you make to it, yeah. And as Mike says, these and they defy logic. I mean, the thing to remember, folks, this is a video game, and it does weird stuff, and there's no other way to say it. So, with that said, Evan should be back with us. I'm going to let him go ahead and announce his pick to you.
Yeah, so I just went back and forth with our assistant GM here quite a bit, and ultimately we chose to go with a sniper here as a player who could replace one of our forwards if we do have something weird go on, and getting another scorer depth-wise. So we went with center Marcel's Barons. And that will put the Florida Challengers on the clock.
Yeah, I think that is another looking at it. Snipers. We had a lot of snipers created this time. And what do you think that was, Evan?
I think sniper is just kind of the quote unquote sexy build. Everybody likes to score goals. They want to see their names at the top of the goal scoring list, and I think snipers have the best opportunity to do that. Obviously, my player is a sniper myself, so maybe I fell for that early in season one, or I guess in the preseason of season one. I don't know, but yeah, it's fun to score goals, and my players scored a decent amount. I mean, David Hume on our team scored quite a few, and you look at some of the snipers around the league, like Heather Cregan, for example, I believe is a sniper. Might be a playmaker, but I think she's a sniper, and she just won the Ovechkin Trophy. So you see those snipers scoring lots of goals, and it becomes an attractive build for these new guys coming in and wanting to kind of replicate that. And I understand that obviously being top in hits or something might not be that exciting for some people, or shot blocks, which isn't even tracked currently in the game. Um, yeah, it's scoring goals and assists and stuff like that is a lot more attractive for people. So I understand that sort of drive to pick those.
Well, and I think that whole part of it is with those snipers scoring those goals. That's what people want to see. And we got 2 picks that came in real quick here, so I'm going to throw these out. Florida has selected Ryder Chisholm as center. Dublin had the next selection, excuse me, Adelaide Landry, right defensive man, and Alaska then with Mario Bolt, left defensive man. And with the last pick in the draft, Evan, as our co-commissioner, I'm going to go ahead and give you the word on this one.
Yeah, so the Las Vegas Sinners have selected the power forward Luther Blissett, and this was another direction we thought about going at number 8 in the 7th round here. Ultimately went for the sniper. Grabbing that power forward that could be big for Vegas for sure.
Well, I think do we have? Well, the only thing we have left, I think, is on the goalies. Are we going to take care of that today? Yeah, the goalie draft. For those, I'm gonna go ahead, Evan, and let you make the kind of the explanation on that one.
Yeah, for sure. So I just posted in the draft chat here with the other owners and seeing if they want to do it on the air. I think we will, but we'll see what they say. Basically, what this is now is the 8th round. I will go ahead and put it up on the draft board here in a second. But basically, the 8th round is going to be all goalies. There's 3 goalies left, and that haven't been taken, and they will all play in the minors next season. But they will also be the backup goalies for our pro teams. And what we are going to do is basically each of those 3 goalies will be chosen by 4 different teams. So we'll go down the order again one more time, and you'll see 3 players get their name called 4 times each, and they will be playing. They'll be playing backup just in case any goalies get shelled and get pulled in the pros, and then they will also be the starters in the minors, and they cannot be started at all in the pro games unless they get called up full time to the pros. But they will be backups, just so that we don't have the generic A backup coming into the game in the case of a shelling. So I've got I don't know if the draft board is working right there. Axis just kind of threw it up quickly. Yeah, so it's not. Yeah, so the Axis just asked in my ear if the list is on here somewhere. So the list is available of the goalies to choose from. I think it's on the minors page here. Well, 2 of them are. One of them's a free agent. So the 3 goalies that we can choose from are Hakan Magnuson, Sports Stats, and Benjamin Drury. So those 3 goalies will be chosen 4 times each as we kind of get ready. Oh yeah, and Doug just reminded me. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling here, but one more thing: these 3 goalies will each be picked up by 4 different teams, and then of those 4 teams that they are picked up by, that goalie will choose one of those teams to join their locker room and get help from the pro team. They're not affiliated or owned by those teams by any means. If a goalie leaves, they'll be open waivers, but they will have the option of those 4 teams which pro locker room to join and get some guidance with progressions and get the pro locker room experience that you don't get necessarily in the minors. Yeah, so one more time, the goalies that are available. There's Hakan Magnuson, Sports Stats, and Benjamin Drury. So Drury is a free agent. He was with St. Louis last season. And then the other 2 were draft eligible, but they weren't taken in this draft.
And with that said, we've already got some of the picks coming in. Florence made their selection with Hakan Magnuson. Albuquerque with Sports Stats, and with the 3rd pick in the goalie round, I went with Hakan Magnuson. We're waiting on Tennessee right now, and just to say this again, when this happens, each goalie can be selected by 4 teams. Once they hit 4, they're taken out of the available picks. So. Hakan can be chosen 2 more times, Sports Stats 3, and Drury has not been selected yet. And it will follow the same order that we had with the regular draft. So and it's what we had done in the past is you had a backup, which was actually a NHL caliber goalie, and once they would come in, they would shut down everything. This will give the goalies an opportunity and to be in part of a clubhouse and to see themselves play on this higher level, and it will kind of put us in a situation where if our goalie gets pulled because he's having a bad game, nobody scores against us again, because that's kind of what we were seeing before. And I think it's going to be a good opportunity for the goalies. Ironically, that was the one area that people were creating, and we didn't really have a need for. And they were also, if I'm correct on this, Evan, they'll also be playing on the minor league teams as well, correct?
Yes, they will be full-time starters for the minors, and then they will be backups in the pros.
Okay, and it looks like Tennessee has just made their selection. They're going with Sports Stats. Redwater, you're on the clock to make your goalie selection. And once again, as we're waiting in these last picks to come in, we want to thank our audience. We got up at one time, I glanced down, we had over 50 viewers, which I think is fantastic. Um, we went over 70. That is just unreal. We hope that you kind of bear with us over the next couple weeks. We're creating all the players in NHL 22. We're custom building the teams. We're custom building the mascots. We're custom building the stadiums. So it's going to take us a little bit of time to do this. I have not seen a firm timeline on how things are going to end up, but just know that we are working diligently to get the players created to get this started. But with that being said, we've got the World Cup that's going to go on. I'm going to turn that over to Evan, let him kind of talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so as the creations go on, I'll kind of touch on that timeline like you were mentioning. We're making some progress, still quite a few players to make, but I think the hope is to start the preseason sometime around middle of December. And then as long as creations go well, and then we can get preseason, maybe even week 1 in, take a break for the holidays, and then finish up starting with week 1 or 2 just after the holiday break, and kind of go with the timeline, something along those lines. As far as the World Cup, I was hoping to have it started already. Been a little bit delayed. Obviously, there's been a lot of stuff going on in the league and some things that needed to be dealt with. But now that we're kind of moving forward, trucking along, things are going strong. We should be able to get the World Cup started this week. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing these national teams in action. And a couple players need to be replaced. So if you didn't make a national team, keep your ears open. You might be being replaced, or might be replacing one of the players that left the leagues. Yeah, keep an eye out for the World Cup announcement. Those games will be starting up soon, and it's going to be exciting to see these national teams play while we kind of get the creation stuff done behind the scenes. Right, so we've got a little bit of a delay here. The Redwater owner is at work, so we're just trying to see if we can get a hold of him to pick his goalie. We weren't entirely decided on doing this on the air or doing it later, so he might not have known that we were doing this now. So we're just kind of trying to get in touch with him. Yeah,
Well,
Jess, do you have any thoughts?
I was sitting here and just kind of looking at all the notes and everything that I had written down, and I think just like every draft, I mean, if you've ever watched a pro draft, there's always players that you kind of look at and say, why did they drop? What's going on here? Um, and I think this is just kind of a perfect indication is what we were looking for as owners, all differed. And for example, if people had if there was only two owners that had enforcers higher on their board, and that's the archetype they wanted, and there were 10 enforcers available, that may be a reason they fell. It's just so to look at this and try to say this is the reason why people fell, there's not a cut and dried answer for this, because you've got 12 teams coming into this with 12 different agendas and 12 different goals of what they're looking at. And so it's real important to kind of keep that kind of in perspective as well with this. Um, you what do you think about that, Evan? Do you think I'm kind of off base here, or
Yeah, I was kind of taking a quick look at the draft chat to see. So didn't hear everything you said, but yeah, like the archetype thing. Obviously, yeah, like the more of an archetype there is, like snipers, enforcers, like you said, the more they're going to fall because teams may only need a certain amount. You don't want to fill your forward lineup with 12 snipers. It's just not going to work. They all score goals, but you need to fill other roles as well. So seeing these guys kind of slide a little bit in the draft because there's a lot of them available. Same with offensive defensemen, there was a lot of them. So seeing some of them fall a little bit later isn't too surprising, even if they were players that might have warranted an early pick. With
yeah.
that, I will move over here. We've got a goalie selection. Redwater isn't answering. We're going to go ahead and skip him for now. And Norfolk has chosen Hakan Magnuson
So
as
that gives
his
us three
goalie.
selections with there.
Right.
And we've got Redwater back on the clock. We're trying to give an opportunity for them, but I also know that I think they're kind of giving them time as we're moving through this.
Right.
And and so I think that okay, we just got confirmation Redwater is going to select sports stats. So that's three of each. So Jacksonville, you are officially on the clock to make your selection. Yeah, it's and I think that's as we look at this, as I was saying earlier, I really have enjoyed doing this. I've enjoyed talking to everybody, giving our thoughts on this. We are still learning as we go, as the presenters and stuff. And with that, sports stats has been selected with the seventh pick. So that means Sports Stats is out of the running. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yep, I got the numbers right. Turku, Evan, you're on the clock there. But I think we've enjoyed doing this. I hope that you've enjoyed it as much as we have. And give us some feedback. And Evan, I'm going to go ahead and let you call that one out there.
Yeah, so this was the goalie I was hoping to get here. We're going to grab Hakan Magnuson, and that will make the rest of the draft all be Benjamin Drury. But yeah, oh nice, Eric added him here during the draft. That's awesome. Saves me some time. But yeah, as Jess was mentioning, I mean, these live drafts, we really look forward to doing them. Last season's live draft was a ton of fun. This year, I got more involved with hosting, and it was a lot of fun kind of providing this for you guys. I know we had a couple of hiccups along the way, but thanks for sticking with us and for everybody in this league. I mean, it really means a lot having you guys here. This community is awesome, and it makes it a lot of fun being an owner and being involved with this group of people here.
Yeah, I want to second that. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy this part of the community, and we're looking forward to getting season 3 started and on the ice. Can't wait to see you guys out there. Hang with us as we go through this transition, and we look forward to seeing everybody on the ice in season 3. You're watching your games and joining us back for season 4 when we kick off the draft again in about 3.5 months. But with that being said, it is 11:32 here on the East Coast. This old man has to get up and teach 3 classes tomorrow. I'm still a high school teacher, at least for another 17 days. So you guys, thank you for hanging with us. I've enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun. I hope you have too. And y'all be safe out there. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna give a couple of shout outs here. Jess was back by popular demand this season. He did a great job as a host last season. People asked for him to host again, so thank you to Jess for doing that again. Thank you for Dave Axis for producing this great presentation. I mean, this draft looked phenomenal. That was all him behind the scenes. He asked me for some feedback, but really he put in all the work over the last few days putting this thing together. So really, thank you to him. Thanks to Eric Davis for building the draft board that was used during this presentation, and then thanks to Krieg for putting this league together as commission and the other deputy commissioners that work with me on a daily basis to make this league run smoothly, and Eric Davis and Doug Britton. And then obviously a big thanks to all the owners, the team staff, all the players, and everybody involved. You guys make it worthwhile, and thanks for everything you guys do. And that's all I've got. Maybe I'll pass it over to Commissioner Krieg if he has any closing thoughts on the league.
And
I
thank
just
you,
wanted
Evan,
to
'cause
thank
I forgot
everybody.
to.
Nope. Go ahead. Go ahead,
No,
just
I was just going to say that thank you for doing that, Evan, because I forgot to thank anybody because my brain's turning to mush. But everybody did a fantastic job with this, and I was glad to be a part of it.
For sure.
I just wanted to thank everybody for showing up, coming through. I'm pretty sure we had about 75 viewers there. I think was our max for there in the beginning, which was freaking amazing. Jess, Evan, you guys both did great. Eric with his draft board was phenomenal, and Dave Access for coming in here 11 days in and putting this whole thing together to produce this was just awesome. So I couldn't ask for a better live draft for the league. And I'm excited to see where season 3 goes from here.
Definitely. All right. So thanks, guys. So we'll see you on the ice for season 3. And that's going to do it for tonight's show.